8:30, great. For the 27, 28, what are we up to? 29 people? We're up to 370 people now?
26 right now. Where do you see 370?
Greetings. Thanks for showing up. This will be a little bit quicker of a assembly. We just have a few things to go over, and we'll have a couple of this is our little panel of experts. Looking down at the bottom of your screen, there's Brian, me, Darren, our language guy, Jason Carter, who is sort of a multi-talented team member. He's doing all of our layout. He did the last rule book. He's doing the next rule book. He's laying out the codex and has a lot of other gameplay and game mechanic ideas and inputs, and is also sort of masterminding a lot of the ARG elements that are going to be incorporated into the rulebook. Sorry, I didn't introduce anybody that well, huh? But you guys all know Brian and Darren. And Sadie, who's most people haven't seen before, has been doing all of our art. She has a little bit of an update for us. Jeremy the Flare, the mastermind behind the FCN, the keeper of matter. I don't know if keeper is really the correct term, though. Is it, Flare?
You mean the destroyer?
The shatterer. Yeah. The destroyer. The evolver. I don't know what you want to call it. But keeping and constraining is not really the adjective or the title that should be going along with that one. He's done some really good. He just went crazy with matter, and he's brought it all back down, incorporating some really cool elements. If we have time at the end, we'll do a little preview, or we'll talk about what the keepers have been doing to the different spheres and sort of the sphere synergy system that was just finalized today. I think will make the game a little more accessible. And then, of course, Michael's going to be our MC. So, and he was supposed to do like a Ed McMahon introduction of us all, but let's just keep it casual and informal. Okay, schedule. Let's begin. We are in the last 30 days of our development, hopefully less. In some cases, we will be less. We want to start sending off different items to our manufacturers for them to begin. Some things need to begin a little bit earlier, particularly the codex. First week of November, with the rest of it following up around November 15th or so. That's what we're shooting for. We don't know exactly how long it's going to take to print, because we got one guy who's going to get it to us in 2 months. We got one guy who says it's going to do one manufacturer. It's going to take up to 4 months. That's Panda. They're a little bit more painstaking, and they move a little bit slower, but they're really high quality. They're a German company that manufactures in China, and they're very solid. I'm still sort of hoping for them, despite the fact that it apparently takes them twice as long. German, I don't know, German painstaking care or something like that. I'm not quite sure. The reason why we haven't chosen our manufacturers yet, because we wanted to get a final sampling of all the different materials and components from the different from our top 3 manufacturers, and we have one that's MIA, and the first 2 were supposed to be here, but it's been delayed, I guess. They're doing a full set. These other 2 guys got it to us a little bit faster because they pretty much just did codex and pocket pages. So that's what we're going to showcase tonight. They have some sample cards for thickness, but the cards apparently at 4x6. Well, not 4x6. They're actually going to be like 3.6 by 5.6, 3.75 by 5.6. Jason, do you want to? What are the final dimensions on the cards? Do you have it off the top of your head?
Yes, in fact, I do. It's 3.75 by 5.76.
That's what it is. We brought them down just a little bit because of our new pocket pages that we're doing. We're not going to be doing what we always called the Chris fold, but I guess actually we just ripped it off of Trapper Keeper. They've been making this type of fold for 100, I don't know, 30 years. But anyway, that folded system that we used in the playtesting codex doesn't look like most of these manufacturers want to do that, which is okay, because I've always been a little concerned about durability on those and the ability to repair them or replace pages easily. And it requires a certain type of binding. It requires either a perfect bind, which is almost impossible with that type of fold, or spiral, coil, that type of thing. So, but we've wanted to move to a 6-ring binder, and Jason's going to go into a little bit of why we're probably going to go down that direction in just when we get to him. But let's see, where am I at? Let's focus in on this. So anyway, we have those 3 manufacturers up. They sent these 2. We're waiting on 1 more, and as soon as we have that, we'll either do it up in another meeting or we'll post some samples. But I'm going to take you right now to some shots of the codexes that we're choosing basically right now and choosing out of. And I'll show you my favorites and whatnot. Let's screen share. Just double check when this pops up. Okay, this is actually my favorite, this top one right here, if you can see it. And this is actually on the Serpent. This is a gallery in the Serpent's Tongue, so you can look at this even when I'm not screen sharing it. This is a really rich, thick slab of leather. It's not real leather, it's a faux leather, but I can't tell the difference. It smells like leather, it's thick, it's nice, it's got this nice double stitching on the inside, and a really, really deep debossing. The ST here will actually be done up in silver or gold. It'll be brown. It'll be gold on the brown version, and it'll be silver on the black version. This particular one that we're taking a look at, this is my front runner. It just feels fantastic. We're gonna mystical it up a little bit more. We're gonna pay for extra debossing. There'll be more symbols right along the spine. There'll be another one on the back. And there's already a serpent's key on the interior. But when you hold this thing in your hand, it feels like what I always wanted wanted our codex to feel like. I like it better than even a hardbound book because this is actually a bad example because I have a very thin little papery sample prototype, like playtesting codex in here. It's actually usually much thicker. It's got a little bit of a thicker feel. But it just feels fantastic in the hand, and it has some flex, but it's still stiff. It kind of evokes the feelings of like sort of an 18th century sort of like travel journal of some sort. Anyway, it nails it. It nails it perfectly. However, we do have to discuss a couple of things with the manufacturers. I would just pull the trigger on it, but the version that we want to use, we have 2 versions. One is where you have basically it's sort of like a slip-in cover like this, right? But we want to combine this slip-in cover with a 6-ring binder. This is the 6-ring binder version. So we want to do the 6-ring binder version, but we still have the pocket folds on either side, so that you, as the player, will have the option of making it as hardbound as you want, and we can make the front pages of the slip-in codex be very, very, very stiff, and you will click them into the 6-ring binder and put it into the fold, just adding a little more. There'll be less like wear and tear on and pull on the 6-ring binder, and then also it will allow you to put in really stiff pages, and you can turn this, if this is too much flex for you, you can turn this basically into a hardbound book if you put in cardstock in there. So that's sort of our front runners, but we still have a last little negotiation to go through with the manufacturer because I'm a little worried about this. I'm a little worried about this pulling out. I tugged and tugged and tugged, and I was able to basically rip this part off. I mean, I was pulling on it really hard, but these things we want to last for years. So we still have a little bit of negotiation as far as making sure that these brackets are going to be really, really solid and really, really durable. So, but other than that, I'm very, very pleased by what is going to be coming in the core set. This is a lot nicer than I thought it was going to be in the core set, and it sets the tone for what the Founders Codex are going to be. This is an outside company that's making this, and it's a. Hopefully, you guys want every possible detail about these codexes. I like them, so hopefully, you want to hear every little thing I have to say about this. This is actually a journal-making company, and the game designers had the game companies had never made anything like this before, and it's taken years, literally years, to communicate in broken English what exactly we were looking for. Eventually, we gave them a real 70-photo expose exactly on what it is that we're looking for, and that brought back some good results. But this is an outside company. It'll be the most expensive option, but that's okay. You guys don't have to worry about that. We can do it, though. I think we can do it. A little more negotiation, and we can do this. Let's move on a little bit. Here's some inside shots. Let me do a. Here's an inside shot. Now this isn't this isn't very accurate because it's short, and the new codex is a little bit longer. If you actually made the codex, cut it up, and spiral bound it, you probably notice that it's very square, and that throws it off a little more bookish. So we increase the new pages, the interior pages to Jason.
That would
I'm so glad you're here, Jason. This is great.
I do what I can. The actual interior page will be 5.5 by 7.5, if I remember correctly. So the actual exterior of the book itself will be approximately 6 by 8.
Yeah,
so
which is a nice size. It's basically, yeah, it's a good one. I like it. It feels a little bit better. We can get away with that now because of our new plastic pockets that are going onto the front of the codex. That allows us to go up, raise it up a little bit, and so the card is centered. Before we were limited, and we had to have such a big card because it was sitting at the bottom of the book, and we wanted it to actually sort of represent the page itself. And a little card sitting at the bottom of a pocket in a big book just looked weird. We wanted it to totally dominate. Now that we have plastic pockets, we can raise it up, and now we can make the book a little bit bigger. So it's a good little development as far as the actual, these very subtle nuances, of course, but we just, we want it to be as perfect as possible. So so this is the one that's really the front runner. Here's the one that kind of kicked us off into a new direction. This is one made by Jason. I wish we could give this actual one to you guys out. I'm thinking of actually putting this one up as sort of as a contest prize, but technically it's Jason's property. So but I kind of want to give it out. I think we could all sign it and we could give it out to a forum contest, something like that. If Jason's amenable, I just threw that on him right now. So while he's in public,
I think I could get behind that.
Okay, good. Now that he's on the spot.
Just make sure that you tell us when you're sending it out so I can meet the mailman halfway.
You're going to intercept that? Yeah, it's a real rich, rough, nice leather. It's great. Ours are going to end up being a little more manufactured looking. Here's a shot of it with the interior. And we were going spiral or coil. We're going to do metal coil for a little while, but I like the idea of 6-ring the best. The only problem with 6-ring is we have to avoid it feeling like a day planner. So let's skip on down here. As you can see, we're thinking about doing a serpent's key debossed on the interior or on the back. That's not the best example, but it is actually legible, and we can fill it in with. There's less blurry ones here. Kind of less blurry. Oh, look at that! You can see our little thing popping out. This is the one I broke right there. And it had been tossed around for a week or two in Brian's car, which is rough. So we took a photo of our phones. Okay, here goes number 2. Here's our second example. Now this one probably shows up a lot nicer in the photos. Look at that thing. That thing is mean and lean, solid construction. This thing is really nice, and it's going to be a lot more durable. Look at that ST. That has a better deboss. That's got just as thick a debossing as the item number 1, but or codex number 1 that I actually kind of prefer to this. Except it's got the silver in there. We'll probably do gold, though, on the brown, and then we're going to make a black codex, and it'll have silver in there, just like this. This is, can we just go like, oh yeah, here we go. Really thick. The pages are not quite right just yet. This isn't the best example, by the way. They just took some samples that we had. It's not, they won't really actually have these white, it won't really have this white at the bottom. Just they only printed out the top. There's actually plastic pockets right here. You're looking at the plastic pocket right now. It kind of helps that it's against white, but you can see it doesn't really interfere with the codex really at all. It's going to be just fine. The plastic pockets are going to be great. And what I like about them is I tore some out, and if you tear out the inner section, can you see my mouse? You really can't. If you tear out the inner section next to the 6 rings, you will. It doesn't break. You still put cards in there. In fact, actually, it fits cards in there a little bit better, and I'll show you why in just a second. And then if the other side breaks, here we'll go to this one. If the outside edge breaks, where if you look down on the psychic screen where etheric control, interrupt, global, all that is, look at those old beautiful cards I designed. But a long way we've come. those actually tape up. Not that I want to make a product that's designed that our players have to constantly repair, but you may have these for years, and it would be really nice if you can just do a quick, simple fix rather than having to order a new page. What's nice about the 6-ring binder, though, is you can order a new page and discover new pages and unlock exclusive pages, but we'll get into that in just a minute. As you can see here, this DeBoss Silver Serpent's Tongue Serpent's Key is great. Look at that, beautiful. You can read it completely. Of course, the Serpent's Key is changing a little bit, but this was based off of our old model. The idea is that you could literally use this as your Serpent's Key when you're casting cards. We'll have another one right on the front page, like the interior. We'll have a couple Serpent's Keys in the codex. Of course, you can put them around anywhere you want now because you get to build your own codex, which we always kind of liked. A Jedi constructs his own lightsaber type of thing. Here's a close-up shot. 6-ring binder. This is not my favorite 6-ring binder style. There's a better quality one that allows flipping through a little bit easier, which we'll switch to, but this was their sort of mock-up. And there's another shot there. Quite good. This one was actually turned out to be, that was a scam, right? This is just some guy, he charged us $200 for this sample. Turned out he didn't work for the company at all. He since been, or he did, but he just, what was up with this guy, Brian?
He took the money and ran with it, basically.
Yeah, he just ran with it. Hopefully,
he got fired. That company still wants to work with us.
Yeah.
So.
Or it's just a new guy scamming. Yeah. I don't know. Hopefully that doesn't happen with our final order. We have a man on the ground in Hong Kong, so one of Brian's best friends, and he went to school together, and so we have a guy there, and we'll be actually getting some eyes on the product before we, release any funds to him. As you can see, this guy made it in his home at night one time and sent us this thing for. This is one of our one losses. What else we got? Is that it? What about our? Well, those are the best ones. Those are the most important ones anyway. So let's talk about this. This guy right here. Nice, thick, solid. Problem is, it kind of feels like a day planner. It's kind of got a little bit of a day. It's kind of got a day planner feel to it. It's not all day planner. It's not like, oh, this is day planner. Let me check my schedule real quick. Well, it seems like I was busy in 1300 BC, but it's got enough of a feel of the day planner that before we would go with this option, we would come up with some other strategies of how to loosen up this edge right here, the spine. That's what kind of does it. It doesn't have the same rounded feel as my #1 favorite right here, and these are pretty stiff here. It's pretty stiff, and it just kind of really feels like a day planner a little bit. I mean, the quality is fantastic. The quality is actually much higher than we expected, and to get this in a core set, 2 of these in a deluxe set, I think everyone will be very pleased, but we just want to push it as far as we can and get everything that we can out of this. I mean, we've delayed this game, and so we delayed it to make it better, and so at this point, as long as it's not going to take up too much more time, we don't want to make any shortcuts. So, but if the game launched with just this, I'd be totally pleased. I'd be pleased. But and I think all the backers would be as well. The interior pages are ridiculously thick. They're almost too thick. They're
no, they're not.
Yeah,
there's no such thing. There's no such thing.
No such thing as too thick. They're going to be really, really, really sturdy, and we don't have to worry about having heavy cards on both sides. Before, the page was folded in half. Now it's a single thickness with a pocket on either side, and so that changes the texture. I don't know. That just requires a lot more tensile strength, so it doesn't sag or rip out. This won't happen with these guys, although it is a little plasticky. The problem with this one is it comes off as extremely high quality. It's extremely durable. Just its theme isn't quite on par. So we'll see if they can keep this strength while simultaneously softening these pages. Here's
It really is too bad we don't have enough theme. I mean, we're just lacking.
Right, we have so little theme.
We're running low.
This is it. It slides right in there. It's pretty nice. Now we will actually raise these pockets up a little bit. This white thing's not the pocket. That's just unprinted paper, basically. So the pocket's clear. Go ahead, Jason.
The pocket will be, the bottom of the pocket will be about 3/4 of an inch from the bottom of the page.
Yeah, so it will. The card will actually come down to
out.
about right there, and so it'll be
Yep.
centered. See, doesn't that look nice? The if there's any problem with this is that actually this one I've been using a while, so it's loosened up. Sometimes when you try to put it in, look, it's you can't really hear it, but you sometimes have to be a little careful about putting it in. Like it's really tight. So and that's why even when this inside edge tore, look at this. I have to use 2 hands right now to put that in. I had to I'd actually flick it up with my finger a little bit. It's easier when it's on the ground and put it in there. I don't like that. So but it's not the end of the world. It's okay. It's not bad. Sometimes you have to be a little more careful putting it in. When this broke, the card stayed in totally fine, except it was easier to get in. It looks like it loosens up. That first one, this first page, it looks like it's going in much easier. So we're checking out a new system to have this be a little bit even stronger. I think this is glued and not heat sealed. Isn't that technique, Jason, that you were?
The heat adhesion is what I was recommending because it keeps the pocket on there better.
Yep. So, but otherwise, then those little nitpicky options, a very cool codex, and hopefully you guys are excited to be playing with a game component that feels like this, smells like this. It smells fantastic. It smells like
Hey, Chris.
rich leather and mahogany. Yeah?
Hey, Chris. There's a real easy way to knock down some of the day planning feel. Add an embossing about a 1/4 inch off the spine on the front and the back side. It'll make it look more like a hardcover book.
Oh, so like here and here
Yep.
type of thing?
Well,
and
no,
run it
actually,
around
straight line all the way down on the front and on the back.
like
Vertical
this?
line. Yep.
Yeah.
About a 1/4 inch in. It'll
That's a
make
really
it
good
look-
suggestion. That's a really good suggestion. Did you get that, Brian?
I couldn't hear.
Oh, he said we should put a debossing down the spine like right here, and we'll create that sort of more of a book feel, possibly.
Nice.
And debossing's not that expensive. It adds some to the cost of each book. Each debossing costs, but we could probably afford that on these ones. This is actually the cheapest version we've gotten so far, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nicest, highest quality is the cheapest version. So we have room in the budget for this one to do exactly that. Good suggestion. Maybe even some right along here. You know what I mean?
A little bit of striping on the spine would be cool too.
We have choice of other colors too. We're trying to get ones that are a little more weathered, distressed. This is pretty smooth. It's got a nice leathery grain. I don't know if it's showing up, but it is very. It's a little smooth. So we wouldn't mind roughing it up a little bit. And people can rough up their own too. I imagine we'll see all sorts of modifications on these guys.
Hey,
So,
Chris,
Jason.
if you had made a color, this is my iPad cover. It's a book. See, this is how they did it. They just
I'm
basically
very jealous of this iPad cover.
basically just add a different color. I mean, when you look at it up close, it looks, you're like, oh, that's not really it. But I think that's what they mean.
You looking at that too, Brian?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's also a really good suggestion if they can do
If they could do
just
it,
a
if they could
secondary
do it.
color on it. I don't know if they can. I think our game manufacturer. I mean, this is from a game manufacturer. It's not confidential, right? It's from Ligeia. That's who I've been working with them. We've been talking to them for almost 2.5 years, right? And they're finally going to start making a game for us. Maybe, if they win. They didn't make this, I'm sure. You know what I mean? They used their Chinese contacts and they found this and then had it modified. So we'll see if they're able to put a different color on that. We'll look into both of those. We have a little bit of time. We want to get this off, and they're going to start making these things first week in November, so they're ready for the rest of the, game. They can be incorporated into the game. So we have like a couple of weeks before we have to actually pull the trigger. So some last final tweaks. Great suggestion. It's good. Let me check my schedule a little bit. So that is mostly what I have to show you on the prototypes. I'm sorry I don't have cards and tokens and the gem. We're getting a full set here. It was supposed to be here already. We're not quite sure if it's shipped out yet or not. Is that right, Bram? So we'll keep you informed onto that, and we'll post some updates. But the codex was the tricky bit. I mean, the rest of it, game manufacturers, they've been making cards and they've been making little, plastic pieces and glass tokens and chips for how long have they been making it? 3,000 years the Chinese have been making games.
Yeah,
or
they're
board
the
games,
original
right?
makers of Go.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so they know what they're doing on that one. But apparently, when it comes to building some sort of codex with pocket pages, total bewilderment for 19 months. So I'm glad that this is the piece that we've got, and I like it, and it feels good, and it's on theme, and it's durable, and it's going to be very usable. So I'm really pleased with it. I hope you guys will be as well. Let's talk about game makeup. Are we doing on time? I need to speed this along. Not everybody will be as verbose as I am. Let's talk about game makeup. We're going to package this game into mini core sets. Is what we're going to call them. They're going to be single player core sets that are going to retail for about $30. That's what we're thinking. We'd like to get it down a little lower, 27 maybe, but that's 25 to 30. 25 on the low end, 30 on the high end. And it'll basically be like the deluxe core set, but cut into two. Kickstarter backers will receive 2 of these core sets, and we think that the components are going to be a little cheaper than we originally imagined. We're still deciding on what the chips are going to be, and we've gotten a sample of a really awesome style of spinner, but it's not a spinner like you've ever seen before. It looks like a cool, like, magical mechanical device straight out of some sort of steampunk graphic novel. It looks really cool that you do your harmony and resonance, and then we'd still have chips or tokens for the durability and duration and charges. So there's a couple last little minute things. We have the samples coming. People are sending us stuff. The spinners of last minute, sort of 11th hour possible change. But don't worry, Kickstarter backers. I'm sure you all are Kickstarter backers. If any component falls below what was showcased or presented on the Kickstarter, we will be giving you the deluxe versions. As we've been looking at this, we realized that we're going to make the game a little more financially accessible, so get people into the game a little bit easier by them not having to buy a 2-person, basically buying a codex for their buddy. They're forced to buy a codex for their buddy and buy the highest quality components. Instead, we're going to give them a little bit more of an affordable version, and all the different various components will be upgradable online. And you will receive, as Kickstarter backers, the upgraded components. So we're going to follow through on all those obligations and commitments to Kickstarter, but I think the mass distributed core sets are going to be single player, and a couple of the components will be stepped down. And in some cases, I think the components will be higher. So let's go into language or art. You want to go into art yet, or you want to do language? Let's talk about language. Darren and Jeff have made some changes to the language, and so if you want to just cover that briefly and talk a little bit about your journey, Darren, about what led you to this and how you're feeling today.
Chris and Aaron came to Jeff and I and said that the language was a little difficult. So in the beginning, when we were approached to create the language, the goal was to make a real-world language, a language that would feel real and didn't sound cheesy like Esperanto or something like that. And I feel like Jeff and I did that, but the thing is, the goal that we had forgotten is that the language is a component of the gameplay. And so, in reality, as language creators, conlangers, we had to set aside our goals for an artistic language and a more natural-feeling language, and try to make a natural language that is accessible. So, using our skills of typology is just basically knowing what types of things are in languages all around the world. We have created a more accessible language that's going to be easier to learn and still feel real world. And so, unlike other languages that have been created, like Tolkien's Elvish languages that were created just for the beauty of the sound, and this language fits into the world that we're creating, and also is very accessible in gameplay. So hopefully, you all will think the same. I mean, from a linguistic point of view, this language is like so cool because it's simple, but it's also really, really like real world. Like imagine people actually speaking this language. So it was definitely difficult to get to that point, and I'm glad we actually went this route, because if we hadn't, we wouldn't have the cool language we have right now. So I don't know what else you want me to say. But.
That's it. Great. Good job, too, and I think it's really shaped up really well. Is that Jason trying to talk? Is he saying something? He blacked out.
He's there.
He actually muted himself.
Oh. Yeah, yeah.
You're censoring yourself, Jason?
No, I was actually telling my daughter that if she's going to bed, she's just going to have to go.
I see. Being a patriarch. So Darren, do you want to sing the new alphabet? Is that what you want to do? You want to sing it?
No, because the alphabet could still change, and I don't want to put something out there that might change.
we did lose a letter, right? We're actually not going to be at 29 letters. We're going to be at.
I think we lost 2 letters. Yes, 2 letters.
We lost the. What did we lose?
The glottal stop, the amas, right?
Yeah.
And we lost the the-ot.
Yeah, da-ot, which is big trouble for Magi da-ot, right? She made a spell and stuff like that. She won. Her spell's going into the game. Is that her name, Magi da-ot? Now she's got to choose a whole new letter, which actually would make it her word of power. Now that I think about it. By the way, just a quick thing in case we have any Prodigy Masters online. You get to choose whatever spell you want. So as you go on the FCN, just choose whatever spell you want and let us know, and we're going to make that your spell, and we will work your name into the title, and we'll work your name into the researcher notes and the inscriber notes on the backside, and we'll build your story around that. Whatever spell you choose will sort of determine a little bit of your character in the world and that type of thing. So have at it. If there's any Prodigy Masters, and we're going to send out an email about this, but the cards have been a little bit in flux. So Prodigy Masters, go crazy. Just go find the spell that you want and choose it, and we're going to make it yours. And we'll build you around your character around that spell. We'll build your spell a little bit around your character. So let's talk about. Thanks a lot, Darren. I appreciate that. And I think you guys are going to be quite pleased with the language. It seems very accessible, but it's different enough that it feels exotic and it sounds cool when you say it, and it's going to be very clear of how you pronounce things when you're looking at the back of the card. Like, all right, I see these English letters, but how exactly do I say that? Is that Thamot? Is it Themot? Is it Themot? Do I roll my R's? Do I not roll my R's? It'll be very. I think it'll be a little bit more distinct and accessible. Probably 4 times more accessible, I imagine. Let's talk about art. You want to take over?
Oh, yeah, sure.
There you go. Let me find it. Here.
Yeah.
Where is it? Where's my inbox? Sorry, guys. Let's see what we got here. 1 second. Sorry, guys. Move this down. Okay. Art. You can do that, right?
Yeah. Well, first off, we really appreciate all the user-uploaded art. There's some real gems in there. We are just finishing up the licensing for the bulk of our official art, and we're starting to do the best of the user-uploaded. If any of the art you guys uploaded gets on an actual card in the final set, we're going to put a designer credit for you on there. And again, all the help has been great.
Yeah, just great. Guys.
Yeah, it's been good. We had hoped to finish assigning art to cards last week, by this past Monday, but we're just a bit behind on it, mostly because the cards are in their last week of flux. Christopher hasn't confirmed the final card set yet, but
we're getting very close.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
We're getting close. So once we have the final set, we'll get the rest of them assigned.
Next week.
Yeah, we still have art coming in. Brian is uploading 30 new official pieces
45
tonight.
new.
Yeah.
45 new.
Since this is going on, we got 3 more artists.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So.
Just in the course of this meeting, 3 artists. It's
Yeah.
rolling in.
Yeah, it's starting to really pick up the pace. And we have staff artists like Mateo, Logan Knight, Vaporization that will help us fill in all the gaps if we have missing art after the assignment and after we get all of what we've gotten squared away. And overall, I'm very pleased with the quality of art we have available and have incorporated into the game. And we have enough art that we should be able to create specific looks for the different spheres, which I'm excited about. And anything else you want me to talk about?
Oh, yeah, about the, if they look on the FCN next week, they'll be able to see what cards are still missing art, and that might help focus their efforts.
Oh, yeah.
So if you have any suggestions, next week you'll be able to see more
Kind of
clearly
what's left.
Like, what are we still looking for art for?
Yeah.
And you also see, like, well, they have art on this card, but it's not the best, you know. So probably focus your uploads. Right now we've been enjoying just having everyone upload anything, even if it's some sort of 1940s picture of a family sitting down to eat a baby. I don't know who sent that one up. Thank you, by the way. That was a good one. The I don't know if it's going to make it on a card, so no assistant designer credit for you on that one, but thanks. The where was I going with that? Anyway, it'll probably help you focus your efforts. We've enjoyed having just the huge mass of cards.
Yeah, all
brought
the
in
stuff to choose from and a bunch of new looks incorporated, kind of. So.
Yeah. And we have a lot of, we make it so we can have a much more art-intensive Out of Eden campaign and follow-ups. We'll have a big art selection for our expansions, that type of thing. So, good job.
All right.
And thanks. Jason, you're on my screen. You want to talk a little bit about the pages, why we're going 6-ring binder, and a little bit of your art concepts?
Certainly, I can do that. Okay. Well, part of the reason that we chose to go with the 6-ring binder was so that we could expand the binder so that you can kind of really make it your own. Let's say you find a particular set of pages in, I don't know, a future expansion that suits your look and feel that you're shooting for your codex a little bit better. You can put them in, and now it's part of your codex, specifically your codex. One of the other things involved with that, of course, is parts of the art. The ARG, or augmented reality gaming, meta gaming, if you will, of this situation. Trust nothing. Trust absolutely nothing. That's all I'm going to say. Trust nothing. We're going to hide things everywhere. Find them. And literally look for them to be in the places that you don't think they're going to be in. Be my guest. If you think you find them, I believe we'll be talking to, well, he's this way on my screen. That would be Flair to, oh, he's that way?
Yeah, it's mirrored.
Awesome.
I'm here. That's all that matters, right?
Right. We'll be probably chucking some things at him, but from what I understand, there's some talk of incorporating some of the elements of tracking how well you're doing with the ARG and on the site, and so that you can talk about it and exchange notes. Best way that it's been described thus far, and this is from a discussion with Chris, is think of it as your own personal Grail journal. You're going to be digging, you're going to be rooting. Who knows, you might find something useful, or you might find something useful for somebody else on the site who can then trade you for more information. And, well, again, trust nothing. That's really about the base of it. That was also part of the drive behind doing the expandable codex so that you could swap out the pages. As you solve one puzzle element, you could take that part out so it's no longer soaking up space inside your codex and replace it with the part that maybe you haven't solved yet. So, stuff to keep in mind.
Nice.
That's all for me.
Good. Thanks. Yeah, that's that. The part of the idea is that you open up the 6-ring binder and let me get a better page. And like in the world of Serpent's Tongue, Magi are often, they're very power hungry, and the use of magic, and we'll go into this a little bit better, and I really wanted to showcase advisory cons treatise on Magic, but we'll get that up and out and showcase probably at our final assembly. In some of the metaphysics, but the use of Serpent's Tongue is highly addictive for Magi. It's one of the reasons that there's a certain amount of corruption aspect possible to using a lot of Serpent's Tongue. So yeah, it feels good, and building up your resonance feels good. I think even Discord might feel good in a bad way. The point is that they're often fighting over these scraps of knowledge and powerful inscriptions and old incantations and maps and the keys to ancient sacred sites where we'll give them access to whole new spheres of magic and where they can inscribe stuff and where they can enter and inject data into the sort of world's DNA, so to speak, and create global changes and control humanity. I mean, these are the type of things that the more power-hungry or really dedicated Magi are fighting for, and that will often come down to scraps of knowledge. In the Serpent's Tongue world, that's what they'll be fighting for, and this concept of these removable pages and custom pages, exclusive pages, plays into that because now at tournaments and with Avak Shar unlocks and through special events and through participation, players will receive physical scraps of knowledge. This is what they'll be fighting for, in addition to other, swag and more like worldly items. We foresee and have planned, and this is all very doable because of this, all because of the six-ring binder. Where there will be exclusive pages that will have certain codes on them that will not be available, or code breakers actually is what will be on there. And without that page, you won't be able to break these codes. Basically, that will lead you to farther down your particular mystery
Rabbit
path.
hole.
Say that again, Jason.
Further down your own personal rabbit hole.
Yeah, further. Yeah, exactly what he said. Goodbye.
Bye.
See ya. Thanks for the update. So anyway, I really like that, and I'm really excited about that. And it's this potential that really makes this game be able to incorporate a huge amount of ARG. Brian, can you take me home tonight? She's leaving. Okay. Because mine is personal details. And it's all because of this removable page, and not all the pages in the codex will be pocket pages, so it's affordable for us to do this, and that means that it's definitely something that we can do and incorporate. You know what I mean? It's pages, but pages with interesting, unique content on it, and it's accessible, it's doable, it's affordable, and we are going to do this. This is very important to me. It's going to be a big aspect of Serpent's Tongue, and I think it will add a certain amount of, beyond just the game, if you want it, we're going to give you a little more. We're going to give you a little bit more of that world because this game's about immersiveness. I mean, without the immersiveness, I don't know. It'd be a pretty good game even without the immersiveness, frankly.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
One of the other ideas that I had that I'm not sure I told you about is that we can actually put out day planner pages. So you can sandwich your codex with calendar and contact pages. When your boss asks you what you're doing, you open the page and go, "This is my day planner."
We could totally do that. Right. We could totally do that. As a matter of fact, that's easy to do.
Yeah. I didn't think about that. Embrace the day planner aspect. Make it multi-function, actually. Maybe
don't make it multifunctional. That's horrible.
7-inch tablet, perhaps. Maybe put their Kindle Fire in there as well. Anyway, so that's what we're thinking about those pages. Hopefully you agree and like this direction over a perfect bound book. You know what I mean? There's something a little more thematic about I don't know about this particular one, but about a perfect bound book than a six-ring binder. But I've really been caught up in the possibilities of what this does as far as taking the game to the next level. So this is what we're going to run with. So I hope you agree and see it as well. The layout's going to be pretty much what we have on the FCN. The FCN's now, can you believe that, by the way, the FCN? All these cards, database, voting, comments, assign arts, and it's all in like almost final graphics. Let's just go ahead and give it up to Flair right now. If you are at home, go ahead and clap. It's just amazing. Does any other card game have this? A card game that hasn't even launched yet?
Not yet.
It's going to transform the. It's going to transform the. Okay, maybe I'm going overboard, but I think it can transform a little bit the game industry because no games have been able to be collaboratively created. No TCGs ever incorporated user designs into their annual or biannual expansions, and we now have the power to do that, and we have the tool and the technology to do it. So, good job, Flair.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job. It's really something. I think it's going to be very, very, very powerful, and it just keeps getting better and better and better and better. All starting from that, all because we made it so expensive to print out our playtest 1.0.
Pretty much.
I'm so glad that we made it so expensive to print out playtest 1.0 because now, naturally, we have this from Flare. It's just great. Language and rulebook. There's a couple of questions on the rulebook. Back to Jason, I guess. He's used to being on these panels.
What do you got?
One of the questions was how final is the current rulebook? It's not very final, and I guess maybe I can answer.
No.
But it's not final, and we have an ongoing living document that we're changing, and we should be pumping out a final rulebook in a couple of weeks. It will be a more finals version, right?
Right. The general formatting and the layout of it is mostly final. But again, that's dependent upon what art we get approved and where we go with that art. We may change the field just a little, but on the overall, as far as the layout and formatting of it, I think we're pretty well solid on that.
Right. It's more of content. We got new keywords and clearer rules and some simplified rules and some more complex rules about golems. And
that's all Flare's fault.
Yeah.
Hey, you squashed that. That's good. That's staying out. I already made the announcement.
We still have allies though. We are introducing a concept of we already have an allies as a team member, but Flare's created allies as a card that play like team members. We can talk about it here in a minute because we still have some time, and we still have a Q&A section that Michael's going to sort of MC for us. But the point is about the rulebook is that we'll have a more updated one. We can have it out very quickly as soon as we finalize the content. Jason can shift it and build it very, very quickly. Right, Jason?
Yes, I can.
So we're going into intense playtesting. We're going to be finalizing the cards. There's a lot of new cards or just pretty profound card tweaks that have been created by the keepers or have been vetted by the keepers. I apologize. I really wanted to keep this ongoing contest, like weekly contests, like which cards are most voted high and which ones are whatever. It was just got just so many cards. So we kind of ended up we tried it, and we're going to incorporate a better system to allow us to use that to do that more in the future. But I think it really helps having these keepers, which are, by the way, there's a question about this. Forces. Keeper of Forces is Ecthelion. Keeper of Soul is Hinoriusen, if I say it correctly. Keeper of Bio is Lazarus. Keeper of Quantum is Magus Yancey. Keeper of Matter is Flare. And Keeper of Mind, the elusive Mind Sphere, is the Kane. He's the one who's taking over the mind. So
I still think this is a bad idea.
That's what everyone does. Thinks it's a good idea, but the guy's a hell of a card designer. So
there is that.
Gotta use what we got, you know. Whatever his political leanings are.
Hino Ryusen says that he spelled his name correctly.
Character. As we'll come to discover in the Out of Eden campaign, all three of them.
Spoiler.
Mm-hmm.
We're supposed to tag that.
What else do we have? Do you want to talk about your allies real quick while Michael? How are we? Actually, let me ask Michael. How are we doing on questions? There are a lot of questions. You want to start?
There's still definitely a lot. You've addressed parts of them, but I think that a lot of them are looking for specific. Yeah.
Yeah, the email one. Hold on one second.
But there's still a lot in there that haven't been addressed yet.
There's some of them I wasn't really that crazy. All right, let me run through them a little bit. Anyway, so those are our keepers, and they've been really, really helpful in clarifying the sphere and exploring its options deeper than I have. I was always looking at the whole game, you know what I mean? And while I built the game sphere by sphere, because I was holding like 180 cards in my head, kind of, and what they were doing and how they interacted, by assigning these champions, basically, and we're going to keep this relationship going into the future. We'll probably give them some assistance. And that's how we're going to be vetting cards over the next year or two as we build up our Obscura expansion, and cards, you know, specialty cards that are going to be introduced with campaigns that the campaigns will come with, as well as the Avakshar based cards that you unlock with Avakshar. But it's been really useful so far, and They're spreadsheets of cards. They ended up creating a lot more cards than I thought. I mean, originally I just was going to have them sort of like clarify and flesh out the sphere and vet cards. And then they immediately proceeded to create all new spheres with new cards that really work well, and they vetted many as well, but they just went on a creative rampage to a T, like every single one of them. And I think it's a really good process. And it's been nice to have some assistant designers on this project. It's been really, really helpful, and it kind of keeps our eye on it. So anyway, the point is that the spheres are a little more fleshed out. I think they're better. And there's a lot more synergy being built into it between spheres, and we're actually switching soul and mind around. It's such a good idea that we're going to go ahead and do it, even though it's not maybe esoterically pure or it's not completely metaphysically sound. It's kind of cool to have soul and matter, sort of like the tree of life from Kabbalah, the crown and Malkuth on the bottom. But we're switching that around because you basically have polarized opposite spheres that you have a hard time with, and you kind of work well with your neighbors, and that switch kind of helps clarify those sphere relationships. So sphere relationships are being very fleshed out. Sorry, I don't have any diagrams for this, but just new sort of, not new whack job rules, but within the current rules and even simplifying rules, they've created sub-strategies and synergistic strategies within the spheres. Soul, for example, is transformed a lot. It's not just a one-trick pony of demanifest, and then slam them with built-up charges. You know what I mean? With karma charges. It's a lot more in-depth, focusing a lot more on injunctions, willpower-based, creating will, spending will, siphoning will, and then will-based incantations. We got this sort of dark chi and sort of chi subsphere that's being utilized, and the karmic change really good. And that's just one example off the top of my head. It's just a little fleshed out, it's cleaner, and I think it's going to be a lot more fun. We're going into a massive playtesting session, though, because some of these cards have not been played before. Their principles are sound with the new 3CS system. They're mostly balanced. That 3CS system comes very close to giving us a general rule of how to balance and like whether a card's overpowered. At least showing us like, hey, we need to take a look at this card. It's 17 points overpowered. If you know what I'm talking about, in the 3CS system, let me just show you real quick because it's cool, and it's another little wonder tool by Jeremy Flair.
I had help with that one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Aaron.
Oh, Aaron, yeah, that's true. Really? Did you even use that spreadsheet? I didn't even know.
I looked at it.
You looked at it. So here we got this little current power. See this 11 right here? Go remove official status, then current power. This card right now is basically 11 points overpowered. And we want to keep things within about 2. So, okay, we got to take a look at Singularity and find out why. The reason why it's so powerful is because it's doing so much damage. It's doing 2 damage per turn for 3 turns. So that's basically a power plus of 28. And then you can see it's got area, which adds up even more. It's global. That cancels it out. Its fluency level gives it an automatic credit. And then you can see, so fluency and resonance and harmony and requirements and that type of thing will take that value down until you get it basically zeroed out. And this is now on every card, and it just really helps with the balancing structure. I think this one's going to need, you don't have 2, you actually have 2 heavy requirements on this, Yancey.
Well, pop her open and see if it's taken into consideration.
Yeah, here it is, right here. So it wasn't, I'm sorry, I wasn't showing this one. It was like this, and so it's showing 11, but he didn't, discarding 2 rifts, each of that's a heavy requirement, so that's 2, and then he gets a credit of 8 resonance. This is all done in the value of resonance. Okay, this card's actually only 3 resonance overpower, and because it's a quantum card and it's so on theme, Singularity tearing at the universe around you, and it even hurts your team and everybody else, that's totally on theme for what we want for quantum. So we give it a 2 resonance credit, and now it's a 1 overpowered card, and that's within their thresholds. And this card is going to be slightly more efficient, so it's going to be a little bit of a better card to get because it's 1 resonance overpowered. Some cards will be maybe -2, be a little underpowered, and that's going to create a little bit of a shift between some cards being a little better than others, but in general, they all balance out. It's a powerful system, and it's going to really help. Point is, in this long-winded monologue, is that we are moving into a playtesting of these some of these new cards and these new card tweaks, and so that we can move immediately into blind playtesting. We're gonna have we're printing up a whole bunch of our own playtests and the rules and the tutorial and the starter cards, and we'll be giving it to people, and we're just gonna have them go at it. We won't be there. Well, in some cases we'll be there observing. Some cases we won't. Some people will be playing on their own. Some people will be playing on teams. But we won't say anything or teach them anything. We've got to figure out if we've hit the accessibility on this game. This game has got, as you know, it's a big game. It can be very overwhelming if you're thrust into it too quickly. So we have, unlike maybe some other games where you can just sit down and like play as you go, this we've had to really focus and try to hit this perfect integration into the game that makes it a little bit more effortless and, more importantly, fun. And so you can learn without having to actually learn. The game's too complex to sit down and play, but with our walkthrough tutorial, I think we've got it. I think it's going to really cover all the elements as you're going through a story and as you're sort of casting some spells and going up and against an encounter card eventually. Hopefully it covers all your basics, and it's a nice lead-in. But that's what we're going to test. And we're going to test that before we finalize the cards, and our master graphic designer Yetta will start cranking them out by hand, but with a lot of help from the Flair Card Nexus. If the Flair Card Nexus doesn't end up just doing it for us like some sort of AI. But that's sort of our production schedule. We're at the very end here. A little more work to do on the codex itself, building in those ARG. We got to deep embed some ARG puzzles and pages and codes and language puzzles in there. So there's a little bit more work on there, but as you can see, we're at the very end, at long last. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to get this game back and start playing it. Where was I, guys? What was next?
Questions.
Oh, questions. Oh yeah, Flair. Did you want to talk about? Wait, do you want to talk about your baby, Flair? You want to talk about it?
Well, I mean, that's up to you. The last I heard is that we're going to push that to the expansion.
What, the allies?
Yeah.
No. I don't think so.
Oh,
yeah,
crap.
I thought we were putting that in. At least one for soul and two for matter.
Okay.
He's going to make a sentient catapult, right? Haven't you making sentient catapult? That's it. It's in. It's done.
That's done. The concept. If anyone on the video watching the video has been following the forums, one of the things that I talked about just today was that we're pushing off durability-based creations until the expansion. Well, it sounds like we're actually going to be pushing off wide use of them, but we'll be incorporating them into the launch system. What it lets you do is cast a creation next to you using components for matter, or using a soul stone for soul, or any number of mechanical things we're getting out in play. But it is a creature that you can have do things and can be targeted by offensive actions. So you have a durability-based creation that has either actions or does damage on a regular basis. And what differentiates it from a normal incantation that does damage is that instead of counting down a duration every turn or being a permanent, it actually has a chip away method that your opponent has to actually literally attack it to get it out of play.
Right. And it will be set up as an ally, so they can choose to target you or target your ally, which is a little homage to Carlos Castaneda, if anyone's got any of that. A little metaphysics there. Anyway, same concept as Carlos Castaneda. You have these allies. You either construct, build, conjure, depending on the sphere, and you can target them separately. You can shield them. They're an ally. They're just like a human ally, basically.
Yep.
Except that they will go on your turn, right?
Yes.
Where like their action, it'll specify on the card that it does this during its controller's maintenance phase, right?
Maintenance phase, or in some cases, it'll actually say spend one action to do something, and so you're investing to do a damage or to gain a durability back or whatever.
Yep.
Go
ahead.
That's the keepers going nuts again.
Yeah, that type of thing. It was a little bit crazier. Okay, that's the stripped down version. So they They've come along. They've come around. It's good.
Yeah.
They kind of went, and now they've brought it all down to hopefully a very nice, tight, interesting, and thematic game.
We had literally
anyway,
three different empowerments.
Yeah, we're going to blind play test it, so we'll double check it, make sure it's accessible. I'm just very concerned. Number one, we've got theme, we've got strategy, we've got intricacy, we've got story. Now, my biggest concern is accessibility. I want it accessible. I want people to be able to fall into this thing. So, anyway. Thanks, Flair. Okay, I'm going to run through a few questions here that were arranged ahead of time. With the popularity of the Magi's Nexus growing, is there a plan to avoid the popularity contest that has started to develop? Some worthwhile incantations are probably getting lost in the mix. Yes, we are. It was a little overwhelming just to go through it, and user votes help bring attention to it, but we're not going to have user votes be the end-all, be-all reason why a card is incorporated. The system is too delicate. It's too balanced. Not that it's a delicate system, but it's just a very balanced system, and we can't just throw it in off a popularity contest. But we give that popular card a good, long, hard look, see how we can tweak it to get it in, if that makes sense. So a little bit of both. Keepers, as we go forward, just sort of like the class reps and class developers on WoW or something like that. You know what I mean? They will sort of be representing that sphere and its synergies, and we'll probably start developing keepers for possibly specializations too, and sort of mini subspheres or subset cards. So, yes, we'll move beyond that popularity contest.
Yeah, to speak to the popularity contest as well, what I've actually done is I've hit a button on the FCN that lets me just see matter, turned on all unofficial, and read through every single card. Like, I looked at votes for the ones that really bubbled up, but every card got my attention.
See, it's good, right? That's the type of keeper system that we wanted, and that keeper understands and knows every single card in that sphere and knows it really all its implications. So it's the right person to be sort of taking a look at these cards. So, clean copy of the rules. We answered no, but we'll have it soon. SOG Spotlight. Would something like a SOG Spotlight be viable where certain spells are given light for a couple of days? Yeah, I really like this idea a lot, and I think you learn a lot about the game just by having one single spell explained a lot. I'm putting that on my to-do list. We'll see if we can do that. I might even work it into the weekly, bi-weekly updates. So good suggestion. Whoever did that. Will encounter cards be released for playtesting? Yes, they'll be released this next week. What is the status of the solo play for the game? Also released next week. Is there any possible way to get it? Am I locking myself into a lot? It's going to be a busy weekend, huh?
No.
It sounds good. Yeah, it's good. At the end of next week, maybe. So those things are all very, very, very close. It's just we always getting distracted by a new fire a little bit. So the card sets themselves and some prototyping issues and stuff like that kind of keep taking precedence to getting those out there. But mind, encounters cards, and at least a portion of the walkthrough tutorial next week, because we need it. We need all of those for blind playtesting. We want to start blind playtesting next week. So, and it might be the end of next week, but we need to have all those pieces. So, and we've got a lot almost there on those. Actually, we have it there. It's just we have to keep doing revisions and that type of thing. When will the canon cards and codices be available? Oh, when will it all ship? So we don't know. Panda's going to take apparently 4 months. Lygia is going to take less than 2 months, including shipping. So I'm not quite sure. It depends on who we run with. The neck and neck is Lygia and Panda.
Yeah, Panda, yeah.
Right? So we have we have some negotiation to do and a few more things to ask them and see if they can do this or do that. Oh, and we don't have Panda's codex yet, so that will decide a lot as well. Fortunately, we can go with any game designer manufacturer we want because I've got Hearst on this leather journal manufacturer that can make our codexes if the game developer cannot. Does everyone know that Magi is plural and Mage is singular? Oh, yes! I'm so glad someone asked this. Not in the world of Serpent's Tongue. Because Magi in the world of Serpent's Tongue is singular and plural, and I have a very long and extensive linguistic reasoning for this, which I should have filled Darren in so that he could jump in right now and very authoritatively be like, yes, this is the reason why Magi is. Mostly it's because I think it sounds cooler, but I developed a big system a couple of years ago about why that is the case. And it's kind of built up the fact that Magi is different than a mage or a wizard. there have all been charlatans and, different fakirs. That's a terrible word to use. What are they called? Fakirs?
Yeah, like fakers.
Yeah, fakers, but it's like Arabic. Anyway, should have chosen a different one. Anyway, you have these guys throughout history, and most of the contact that people actually had of druids and shamans and whatnot, they may have a small, little, tiny piece of power if they're a person of power at all. But there's a difference between what we usually see and know as wise men and wizards and men of knowledge and power in India and China and Africa and all around the world. And these could all be considered wizards or mages, but Magi are different. Magi are the real thing. They're the real deal. And it's almost as if the phrasing sort of came from he is of the Magi. I am of the Magi. It's also very similar to he is Jedi. I am Jedi. I am a Jedi. They are Jedi. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like this, sort of along the same lines as that. So hopefully it's not too discordant to too many people's ears, but that's how we set up the game a little bit. And
do you want me to jump in and give you the reason why Magi works?
Yes. Yeah, jump in there. We plan this.
The thing is, Chris is using Magi as a collective noun, meaning that when you say Magi, you are always talking about more than one. But if you're like saying, I am a Magi, you're just saying that you're a Magi, one Magi of all the Magi in the world, right? So we do this with lots of collective nouns in English, and many languages do this, so it's completely grammatical.
Yeah. See? I told you. However, I am going to change the Kickstarter rank from Magi to Mages. That's what I'm going to do, because it's technically... does that just totally go against everything I just said? No, it's different. It's the idea is that you are a Magi initiate. You are a Magi apprentice, Magi magus, Magi master. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of what it is. And so I wanted to separate that out. I don't want to say I'm a Magi. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. So we are going to change that. So all you Magi, you are still Magi, but everyone's a Magi. All of you guys are Magi. If you are into the game, you've awoken and you've stepped into a role as Magi, even if you're a puny one. But even a puny one is a god to mortals, or mutes. So, anyway, so we are going to make you magus. You'll be a Magi magus, you know what I mean? Oh, wait, but what if we make them plural? What if we got to talk about all that Kickstarter plural is Magi? I'm working on it. I just came up with that just in the last day or two. Don't hold me to that one. When are we going to have a coherent summary of the ST language, including dictionary rules for word construction and writing system? This is a fantastic word. This is a fantastic question. Fairly soon. We did some last-minute changes, right? So I won't make Darren come out and say anything specific. But we're going to have a lot. We're going to have a system where word construction doesn't have to become from just the language team, and it can be a little bit more collaborative, just like everything in Serpent's Tongue. So we have to have a pretty tight set for next week, and then by the beginning of November, as we really finish up some of the codex stuff, which is going to involve syntax and word order, we'll have a lot of that as well, and then we can make it available. We have a ton right now. Is that better? Did you want to go on the record on that, Darren? I thought I would.
Yeah. We're still. I mean, we're working out some kinks that should be done within this week. So, yeah, we're good.
It's a really major overhaul. We basically have a new alphabet, highly modified of the old alphabet. So, but it's coming together really, really fast. And we've got syntax and word order and morphology, and we have all of that. So, anyway, we'll be implementing that, and we'll probably. What do you think? We want to get like a whole, I don't know, some sort of little primer or lexicon? What are you thinking about that, Darren? As far as how we release that? We'll have the basics in the rule book, but. Separate document?
Well, if people want to suggest things that they want to see on the one of the forums on Becoming Magi, then that's fine. We can take those suggestions.
I don't think we're going to be doing a whole language book or language primer or language textbook before launch.
Not for the launch, yeah, or not before the launch, right?
After launch, we got to focus on the game elements itself. Mm-hmm. Please explain states. How does a spell's duration relate to the state's duration? Some incantations imply that a state can last longer than the incantation. Can they last shorter? Can the spell be dispelled and the state continue? If so, is there any way to get rid of such a state? These type of questions, maybe I've been falling behind on it. With the specific rules questions in the playtest 3.0, I try to revisit. Actually, I think about it. I was on vacation, and I actually haven't revisited it since I've been back, so I'm sorry. I got to get back on that. That's a good place to put those questions. I'll review them again as well, and we'll have more keepers and whatnot that know the rules backwards and forwards. They can start answering those very definitively as well. But in this particular case, we simplified states, but I still haven't simplified exactly how to explain it. But if you dispel a state, it doesn't matter whether it's if you have a card that dispels a state and the target card has a state on it, the card's gone. It doesn't matter whether it's a core effect with this and an infusion and an injunction and a state. We've simplified it. If I dispel a state and that card's got the descriptor word state on it, it's gone. And you can have a longer duration for a state, much like Callie's Embrace. I cast it on you. It does a point of damage. That core effect of doing damage is over, has 0 duration, so that's done. But then it remains as a state for like 3 turns. It's a healing injunction for 3 turns. So there's actually separate durations possible. But for the sake of simplicity, we are not creating cards that have a positive state number of positive duration on a core effect and then a different positive number of duration on the state. So you won't ever have like, well, this does a lightning bolt for 3 turns and causes a state for 7 turns. Multiple chips on the card, we're just not going to create those. And we can create most of the effects that we want to create by just having a core effect have 0 duration and the state has duration, like Kylie's Embrace, or there'll be things like Shocking Arc that is a chain spell, and while it's active, it's focus sustain, and while it's active, it also disrupts you, in which case the state has 0 duration. So there is that. That's this. Maybe it's still too complex. We're going to find a little bit more about that in playtest. It's one of the things that's still in our sites, states. We need them, but they're a little unwieldy to some people, but we've trimmed it down, and I hope it's going to be accessible enough. What's the difference between canon and obscura? Well, as we just decided, there is no difference. Sorry. There's no difference. There's not enough of a difference to distinguish it. And we had big plans about a different layout and whatnot, but the thing is, there is no functional difference, then we're not going to put it into the game. It's more complexity, and we need more complexity right now. So the game's going to launch with cards, the incantation cards. It's been known as the canon. They're going to be the ones that came out originally, and there will be core canon that come in a core set, and then there will be sort of obscure canon. What's the word? That will come, only be available in inscription packs. The Obscura set will probably be an expansion, a year and a half down the road. We'll bring in a lot more allies and some weird subsets of cards and that type of thing. But as of right now, I still call them Canon and Obscura, but the only difference as of right now is that one comes in the core sets and one comes in inscription packs. That's it.
Yeah, so. To capitalize that a little bit more, Yere was actually planning on creating an entirely different look for Obscura versus Canon, and that's kind of one of the other reasons that we're making a really general distinction that these are cards that come in the core set, and these are just cards that come in the inscription pack, but they're part of the same launch set.
Right. And I like the idea of being able to recognize inscription packs as being different. I think there's a little bit of pride in it because I've got this cool rare Obscura card, but there's already going to be a lot of pride because it's going to be a level 2 or a level 3, and there's other thematic elements. It's just an unnecessary categorization. So, and now the categorization will keep it at this is basically Serpent's Tongue Alpha, I guess you'd call it. What did MTG call theirs? They called theirs Alpha, right? Yep. That was the first one. I wish I still had a sealed case of Alpha, right? What's that go for these days?
You don't really
3,000, something like that, something crazy. What is the? Are there more types than Canon, Obscura, and Unofficial? If so, what are those differences? Yeah, that's a distinction on the FCN. I don't want to worry about it right now. Official just means that it's currently slotted to go into the final game, and unofficial means it's a card that's being worked on. It's user created. It's one of ours sample cards. And so we're always going to have a lot of unofficial, and then we will strim them, pin them down to official. And what about the Mind Sphere? Will there be canon cards for Mind? I don't know. Ask Hunter. I don't know. I'm just joking. Yes, we have Mind, and we have all of Mind level 1. They'll be out next week, and we'll have a bulk of Mind level 2. Sorry it's taken so long. We just always held that off purposefully, because I wanted to build the game and then see where the balance was missing and have Mind fill that slot. So it turns out wasn't really that necessary. So we're gonna do it. We have some good concepts and techniques, and Hunter has, the Kane has some great ideas for it. So they'll be out. Some Mind will be out next week. Some Mind will be out this weekend, actually. So Mind uses there's a couple of core mechanics to it. The one I created that's stayed over from the very beginning, although I don't think it made it into PT 1.0. Was Mind Link in PT 1.0? I think we simplified it. If you have a Mind Link that you put onto other people and to cast spells use Mind spells to their full effectiveness or to cast them at all, you need that Mind Link. So that's its sort of requirement and kind of creates a little bit of sphere centricness to it, centricity. But the trick about Mind Link is that everything you cast through a Mind Link also affects you. So you have to create these attack barriers, which is sort of an homage to Shiro Masamuni's Ghost in the Shell. I really like the idea of them doing mind dives and stuff like that. And she always had these attack barriers, and they were blowing through each other's attack barriers. And I just think that's totally awesome. And so that's kind of why I based that off of. Not all the spells will simultaneously attack you, but some of them do. Like Mind Spike, if you don't have attack barrier up, Mind Spike will do a damage to you as well. And if there's a Mind Link up, that other player can cast any Mind spell he wants on you as well. It's a two-way street. It's like too much of a merge. Makes it very powerful. You can control the heck out of them, but also makes you susceptible as well, which I think is sort of metaphysically sound. That's all the questions I have. Do we have anything else? Anybody have any comments on all that? You guys getting tired? If anybody wants to check out,
actually, we still have quite a few other questions.
Okay, let's start going through some questions. Darren, I know you're busy. You guys, we may have a language question, but if you guys want to check out, feel free. I really appreciate you guys being on the panel. It's very nice to have you here. These guys have been great, by the way. The backers have been great. The whole Serpent's Tongue process has been great. It's been a blast, and I really love the collaborative nature of the whole thing. You know what I mean? It's just everyone pitching in and helping out, and a lot of user-created aspects to the game and content, and also a lot of and with it a whole bunch of really interesting ideas and a lot more stuff that I would not have come up with. So I think it's really helped season and mature the game and set the precedent of how I want to run a game company from now on in the future. I want it very collaborative, particularly Serpent's Tongue. So anyway, I think it's going to set the tone for all future development for Serpent's Tongue if we're so lucky to continue developing it. But I think we will. Any comments from the panel? No?
Sealed case of alphas, by the way, went for 30 grand.
30 grand for a sealed case of alphas. Now, I'm not saying you Kickstarters should seal and not open up your inscription cases. But I'm not saying otherwise either. I'm just throwing it out there. MTG Alpha, 30 grand. Not bad. It's kind of pompous of us to even make that parallel, right?
Yeah, just a little.
27 years from now, you might be able to get some money off that pack of case of inscription pack.
Yeah, this is pointing to left field, by the by.
Yeah. It's funny. Let's do some questions. Go ahead, Michael. Hit us.
All right, the ones that I've got left at this point. Unfortunately, I can't attribute to who wrote them. They're in the comments somehow. Anything happening with the Avakshar ranks? We're not hearing too much about those, so someone wants to know.
Oh, I wish Aaron was on there. Do you guys want to do this like a game show? Like he asks the questions, and then we all buzz in, and whoever buzzes first? Just to add a little tension. I don't know if I can't see the audience. I can't get any feedback. You know what I mean? Is there anybody still out there? How many people are watching? Is anybody still
right now? It's still 30.
Oh, good.
Technically, Chris, it should be he who buzzes last.
30. What did Jason say?
It should be he who buzzes last.
Oh, he who buzzes last. That's right. Everyone gets in on first, sort of like the pig game or something. Yeah, we just do this. Since we don't actually have buzzers. I'm sorry. It's getting late. Avakshar is a very important subject that we've spent a lot of time on, and Aaron's Aaron's sort of taking that over. That's his pet project, so I wish he was here tonight. But the Avakshar is going to work out pretty good. I think it's good. It's still a foundation stone to the game. We would not make this game without Avakshar. That's all there is to it. Because I'm not going to make a traditional TCG. We already have traditional TCGs, and as much as I enjoyed them, I find them exploitative, and I think other people do too. And I'm not going to try to launch a TCG in 2012 that doesn't have some sort of that doesn't curtail that exploitative nature to it. That's all there is to it. So we're doing Avakshar. It looks like it's going to be just fine. The question is will we have Avakshar cards in the inscription packs be like scratch-off cards? What's nice about the scratch-off cards is that you can sell them. I mean, you get an Avakshar, it's a commodity. You know what I mean? That stuff basically translates to cash. So I think it'll create an interesting aftermarket of like actually giving people these codes, and they know that the code hasn't been used because it hasn't been scratched off. So it's a question of whether we do the scratch-off cards. It brings the inscription packs up too high right now, but maybe we can get it down. Otherwise, there's going to be a code in there. And redemption, looks like we're moving forward on that. We don't know exactly who we're going to be using as our redemption service. We're going to outsource it so that it doesn't apparently you can hack them. The algorithms can be hacked or whatever. We'll put in some limitations on how many Avakshar codes you can redeem in a day, which will help with that. Some of them will get hacked. Some of them will get... I hope that service selling is so successful that we got a bunch of people, I don't know, some people from different parts of the country, of the world. I tried to make some pointed remarks about the Utahns, so we don't get a bunch of Utahns hacking us. Anyway, we probably will. And I mean, what was my joke? Oh, I hope Serpent's Tongue is successful enough that we got these people that are trying to hack our Avakshar codes because they're that valuable. So, and maybe they will get hacked a little bit, but we're going to go through somebody that will help curtail that. And the Magi's Nexus, which is getting very heavily spec'd out, but will not launch until probably the day stuff arrives. We're going to need every minute that we have while the game's being produced. Particularly, it's largely a shorter-term one to create the Magi's Nexus, the complete website that's going to track your profiles and your mysteries and your Avakshar codes and what things you've unlocked and that type of thing, and allow you to transfer Avakshar to each other and create master-apprentice relationships with Avakshar. This is what we're doing. This is not projectile. This is not just like projections. This is what we're doing, and we can do this, and this looks all very accessible, and I think we can afford it. Some of the relationship-based stuff, I don't know. Maybe we'll have to wait till post-launch, and we've sold some units and that type of thing. But we're on target to do it, and the idea is you Master Apprentice, you recruit other people, and you are their master, and all Avakshar that they create, you get a piece of. This is Utah. We're masters of MLM. Let's put some MLM in this, but it's a non-exploitative MLM. It's synergistic. So everyone in cabals that form together, formal cabals, will all share a little bit in little cuts of each other's Avakshar. So there'll be relationships that will help you synergize your Avakshar. So if you are networking and participating in the game, you don't need to buy inscription packs to get Avakshar, and that's important to me. You know what I mean? I don't want it to be this whole cool system of Avakshar, because there's going to be cool things unlocked in it, and codex pages, and extra specialized specs. And if you have to pay money to get to that, then it sounds exploitative. So we want to reward you for taking this journey and investing in our inscription packs and whatnot, but we don't want it to make it mandatory. We still want you to be able to get a trickle of it and be able to get some Avakshar and spend it and unlock stuff through some of these other means. Of course, you also get it through participation in the little weekly encounters, and we'll have all sorts of little things, little responses and surveys and interaction and tournaments and showing up on game nights. So we have a system with our potential distributor, Game Salute, but we're looking at we're not pulling the trigger on anybody till the very end, and we can pick and pack and ship cards for a very nominal shipping fee. So I think the whole system's going to be self-sustainable, and we can afford it. So I think it's going to work out. I think Avakshar codes is going to work out great. So we're well on track. Not a lot to show you right now, but you can tell that we got some plans. What's next? Exciting stuff, right? There's some cool stuff about Avakshar. Yeah. Avakshar is a key element to this Serpent's Tongue game, I think. So I think that's what really transforms it and makes it a little bit different and makes it a little bit higher conscious, too. Continue.
Next up, what's the progress with getting game stores to carry Serpent's Tongue or have Obviously, you're not going to have Serpent's Tongue Nights yet, but what's the progress towards getting that to happen?
We're going to be working through a distributor. And at first, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to work through distributors. I didn't like the distribution system, and I wanted to like thumb my nose at it. And like, I went to business school. I will find a better way. You know, Walmart figured out a way. Serpent's Tongue can't. Wrong. That's not going to work out at all. We got to use distribution channels because we need brick and mortar stores. We need game centers. We need places where you can show up and play against other people, and where you can enact your missions, because you're going to be getting missions to to go kill another active player or combat him, or come together with him and do an encounter card at a place where it's being officiated. So I mean, that's just a lot. There's a lot. This is a very social game. So despite its solo play, I mean, this game needs a place for you to go, and so we need brick and mortar stores, and that means we're going through distribution. However, so we're using Game Salute, and they distribute to all the big distributors like Alliance and whatnot, and we'll be in distribution catalogs. But Brian is going into a heavy Game Center contact mode after launch, and we'll be personally calling, and me too, we'll be personally calling each Game Center in the country and talking about the game. And then I'll also be traveling around on the coastal regions. We'll be traveling around basically, and we'll be visiting a lot of the game stores. So we're actually going to do a pretty big push. We're going to literally show up on their doorstep with their demo game that you guys bought. You guys bought every game center in the country a demo copy of the game. Did you know that? Maybe I got downplayed a little bit on the Kickstarter backers, but that was one of the Kickstarter reward tiers, and you guys did that. You guys paid for that, so thank you. And so we have enough to do what we consider to be game centers. So that means they actually have a night that shows up. And we have at least 500 demo copies that we're planning on giving out. Maybe there's more actual game centers in the country, but we haven't found that many. A lot of game stores, but I'm talking about a game center where you can go and play as well at the same time. I want to piggyback on Magic the Gathering's Friday Night Magic. I want to piggyback that. You know what I mean? I don't see us competing with Magic the Gathering. I see us as very synergistic, and the same type of, a lot of similar players. Some people saying the same thing about Legend of the Five Rings and also maybe Dungeons and Dragons, because they have formal nights too, right? But I'd like to piggyback it a little bit, and just like I'd like to see in the beginning Serpent's Tongue players playing while they're waiting to start their MTG nights. You know what I mean? It's another thing to do, and I know that happens already. I mean, you go to Friday Night Magic and there's Legend of the Five Rings there, and there's Pokemon going on, and there's other stuff going on. So I'd like to piggyback it at first. I wouldn't mind hosting a big event like a MTG L5R ST tournament. You know what I mean? You come and play all of it, and it's a good way to sort of showcase
Triathlon?
ST to other guys. I imagine that in a big giant circus tent.
Iron Man mode.
What?
That's Iron Man. That's Iron Man mode.
Yeah, it's like Iron Man. Yeah, you get somebody who wins all three. I don't know what it'll be like. We'll have this like couple of tables of ST and then this convention center full of MTG players. But that's all right. We'll slowly but surely.
Just saying that I've actually gone to a game shop, game center around my area, and told them about the game. And I fully intend to print off some nice looking cards and swing by again. So, and I started as a backer. Like I found the Kickstarter within 4 or 5 days of it ending. So there's nothing stopping from anyone from.
Ooh, that was a close one. We almost missed Flair by 4 days.
Yeah.
Damn.
Well, hey, don't feel bad.
Out there is like, oh, I wish I'd backed that. Oh well, I'll wait till it comes out.
Hey, don't feel bad. I was in the same boat. I was in the same boat as him. I backed within the last 48 hours too. So,
really?
Yeah.
That's good. That last 40 hours was pretty crazy. We're hoping to pre-sell all our excess copies long before we actually launch. We have some design. We have an interim website coming up that I need some help with. The price is a little too expensive of what we want to do. We got to revamp our site. We have a theme. We just have to convert it to a theme, simplify it. It's a mobile-friendly theme. It's going to be a lot faster, and we got to put in a WooCommerce site. So anyway, I need some help with web design, and we have a little bit of money that we can offer, but apparently it's not enough money for just a regular average WordPress developer. But if you're a backer and you want to be a part of the inner sanctum and even get a little bit of money by helping us convert our current site to this new theme, my little brother Gunner's just too overloaded and by this new big job he's got, and we couldn't compete apparently. We couldn't pay him the same. So anyway, I do need some help with that WordPress development, converting a theme, implementing a WordPress WooCommerce plugin. Just throwing it out there. Anyway, we'll have a site that's going to really sort of push our pre-sales. I'm hoping to get all our remainder pre-sold before we even ship, before it's on the boat to China from China, which will allow us to immediately re-up. You know what I mean? We'll take any revenue from that and we'll put it right back into getting some more sets up. We're not launching with a lot of sets, so I imagine once you guys get your set and you go to your local store and you're like, there'll be an instant explosion a little bit, because you guys all know people and this is a game you share. So anyway, we just want to hopefully that we can meet that initial demand. Off topic, but go ahead. What's the next question?
One person had a comment. They were saying that they were hoping black is an option. I think people are hoping for color options on codexes. So I figured I'd throw that in.
That's a good point. I don't know exactly about that. That's actually a new. I mean, I always assume that, but we never nailed that down with our manufacturers. So we're still in a little bit of discussion with it. What do you want? Midnight blue?
That
midnight blue with a little silvery writing or something like that? Just Dantalus style. I wouldn't mind that too. I don't know what our options are on that. So apparently we do have some. What we're finding out though is whether our discount rates or bulk rates apply for all of them despite color, or if the color creates a new SKU, and with the new SKU it means that we're just getting like 1,000 of these instead of 5,000 of these codexes. You know what I'm saying? So something to figure out. As far as choice, I don't know. I know we have to wrap this up very fast in the next 10 days, basically, of exactly what that's being packaged like, because we have mini core sets, and they're not going to have every card in the game. They're going to have about half of the starting cards. Right now we have it designed sort of etheric versus physical, and you have a etheric codex and a physical codex. That's just sort of just to give you an idea of what we're thinking. We might do that in like 4 of the starting specs and that fit with that, and some pre-made codexes, basically lists that you can use. But we might expand that to even 4. And so it probably will go by what type of core set it is. You know, we have 2 or 4 type of these mini core sets. Each one will have probably a different colored codex. So you can make your choice based off of what spheres you want to use or what specs you like, or maybe you'll just choose this particular one because you like the Vista and Dantalus codex. So sorry that's not a little more fleshed out. This is a kind of a fairly recent change as far as how we're packaging the game since we've been nailing this down with the manufacturers, and it's just a choice. It's a sort of more of a marketing and distribution choice, and just finishing that up.
You also made a really good point early on that with the codexes that you're picking, they can be put into another holder, so you could really get or buy or make whatever you want.
Right. Yeah. You should be able to. Did you turn off your mic? Was your mic on? Sorry. Yeah, you should really be able to play around with these codexes and customize them quite a bit. So, if someone backed during the PayPal period right after the Kickstarter ended, that was an extension of the Kickstarter time period. So Brian's got a list of them. If you back during then, you are a full founder. It was like we extended it out to the Friday afterwards, I think, right?
Yeah.
It's just going to go off your PayPal date stamp, and if it went off after Friday, you are a legacy founder, which is almost as good. Legacy founder rewards are actually going to be upped a little bit in order to help us push through these pre-sales. So we may encroach a little bit more on the Kickstarter. Right now, they're getting the Bag of Shadows, Eve Speaker, and access to the compendium, and access to a Founder's Codex, but not at cost, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit more.
The Kickstarter is going to be probably under cost.
It will be under cost.
Under cost, yeah. It's going to cost us a little bit to fulfill that Founder's Codex, to do the one we want. Anyway, we may up that up just a little bit. Hopefully you founders aren't too exclusive, like a country club. You know what I mean? Keeping these lesser legacy founders out at the gates, picking at your, scraping at your leavings. No, it's not gonna be like that. We're gonna give them a little bit more. We're gonna make it a little bit more enticing and whatnot. And hopefully you guys, you Kickstarter backers, see yourself as this sort of this Ordo Principium, but you probably should have a certain amount of bond for anyone who came in on this game. before it actually launched. You know what I mean? You guys are all intrepid consumers and gamers if you did. So, what else you got?
Oh, actually, someone just asked a really good question, I think. Has anyone asked yet how the Kickstarter rewards may have changed due to the changes in gameplay?
0, right? No change to the Kickstarter rewards. Specialization specifics may change. The Kickstarter specialization. I mean, the powers on some of them, like the Diablo Skull Engineer.
Yeah.
It's going to change a little bit. Bulwark is going to change a little bit because some of them are based off of this sort of fluency level system. Like all your shields are at +1 level. So there'll be some gameplay mechanic changes, but as far as actual stuff, it's all the same, right? Same amount of cards. Bag of Shadows, fine. Everything. Founders Codex. Oh yes, that's true. The timer. That timer. Okay, we got a quote on that timer. Actual official quote, right? And they were cheap, frankly, for having them being hand produced for us. And then they came back and they wanted like an extra 30 grand or.
Yeah, an extra 30 grand to develop it.
Yeah, 30 grand. They're like, oh, we can make it for you for like $2, but it's going to now cost you 30 grand for us to create the machinery to do it, which was just thrown in afterwards. We can't do those timers. We're looking at other options. So there's the timer issue. Sorry about the timer. If that's all that goes wrong, looking at some of these other upsets that other Kickstarters, first-time Kickstarter and game producers have created, not to try to make excuses, but it's going from that vision to actual implementation and getting this stuff made in your hand from overseas manufacturers. I've just seen a lot of things go wrong, and a lot of them have just had to be like, sorry, I couldn't do it. If the timer is the only one, I'll be okay. You know what I mean? I'll take my lumps on that one, and hopefully you guys will be okay. We'll make it up to you. We'll make it up to Kickstarter. Yeah, we have the app timer and the digital timer, and possibly revert to just an hourglass, and we'll have some nicer hourglasses as upgrades available on the website. So, and we'll make it up to you. There's a certain cash value to that you guys bought in for, and we'll even that out. So, but I think that's it, right? The timer's the only one we ran into a wall with. Good question. You're right.
All right. This one's actually a pair of questions, but they're both so closely related. Will the rings damage the edge of the cards through the shifting of the cards, carrying and so forth in that six-ring binder? And the plastic pockets, are they a kind of plastic that you can melt back together if they tear?
I haven't tried either of those. Let's take a look, shall we? I haven't tried melting the plastic pocket on there, but we're looking for this thermal sealing that really bonds the plastic to the paper. You might be able to melt it back on. You could probably glue it. I tore one of these out and I put Scotch tape. That's the clear kind. Masking tape? Scotch tape. Oh yeah, masks. It's in here right now, and I was looking for it to show it, and I can't find it. It doesn't show up. I can't see it. Maybe if I went through it one by one. So that's kind of cool. You know what I mean? Ghetto, but if it works and you can't see it and it doesn't affect the page at all, I'm really glad that this tech solution has the capacity to do that. So as far as the card shifting in the 3-ring binder, I don't think so. They
shouldn't. We actually have
the really well. I mean, it doesn't even, because of the tightness, it doesn't like to push it. Like there's a lot of tension to go from here to that, and it seems to want to go right back. So, well, maybe it doesn't just snap back. Yeah, it seems to shift away from them. So if we go like this a lot, let's take a look at this. Right, this is a live demo right now. I don't know what's going to happen when I open this up. You guys are part of the process. Look at that. Look at that square.
Say, Chris.
Yep.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
What I was going to say is we actually should have, based on the page design that I'm working up, there should actually be a thin line of adhesive where it actually maintains a half-inch margin between the edge of the paper, and then we'll have the actual holes for the rings, and then dedicated space between the rings and the card. So it should be held pretty well in position away from the rings.
Oh, good. Yeah, and these pages that we have here are not 5.5 inches right here. They're a little smaller. They're going to be a little bit wider, giving you even the pocket it'll just be shifted a little away from it a little bit more. Maybe not that much. But, So anyway, I think we're gonna be okay on both of those. I think the real question is whether we're gonna do this thing that Yetta just keeps demanding that we do. That on the specializations, when you unlock a power level, he wants us to put these little clips on there.
Yeah, he loves that idea. No, he doesn't.
No, I'm just joking. He hates that idea, our layout designer. But that's what I do, and they're not paper clips. They're like these softer clips that you put on there, and you can stand your card. At your option, you can stand your card up in a card stand, casting stand, your specialization, and from across the table, first off, you have like a little avatar on the game board, game table, and then you can see from across the table which trees they've unlocked. But I've come up with some criticism on this, and we have to test it out, make sure. Apparently, people don't like the idea of putting paper clips on the card. That's going to, rough it up. These valuable cards. So the specialization is also going to lay flat, and we'll have player markers, little player tokens. They're going to be included. They're smaller guys. These are punch-out tokens that will go on. We use them whenever there's like a global state, like the whole team's on it, and it didn't affect that guy, but it affected that guy and that guy. So you put that in your global team area, and then if you are affected on that state, you take your player marker and put it on there because the card can't be in two places at once. And we use those for representing those upgrades. But I like the paper clips. I'm not quite sure why we went down that path, but.
Hey, Chris.
What else you got? Yes.
I actually have one quick question from the Keeper chat, and it's more of a statement that since we're switching over to the core set that just has a certain amount of spheres in it, what do the backers get?
Oh, every backer will, like the deluxe set, will be 2 of the mini sets, and all the other items that we need to basically upgrade it. Yeah, is what it will be. It will no longer being in one box. We don't think, but because that's definitely a different SKU, and therefore we lose all of our. We had to kind of make a choice about whether we're going to do all deluxe sets or all mini sets. Couldn't really do the two, and we're going off of. We had a lot of discussions and maybe even heated arguments about it, heated debate, but accessibility means a lower buying cost. So I get to try this game out and get my feet wet with it without having to make a $60 purchase. Come on, you guys are gamers. There's a lot of $60 games out there I want to play, and they're not sitting in my game closet. They're not there. You know what I mean? Because there's a certain amount of resistance there. There's a little bit of wall. I mean, would I pay $60 for service time? Yes. But and there's a games I do pay $60 for? Absolutely. $90 game. I would have paid. How much did I was going to pay? $300 for that Lord of the Rings thing, right? Mm-hmm. And which I should have, since it's now worth $1,000, right? The giant Lord of the Rings box set. But anyway, it creates a consumer resistance, and we want people playing this, and we want a society. We want people speaking this language. You know what I mean? We want a real society, not just to sell more games. We want the community. You know what I mean? A community's really intense. Let's face it, niche gamers that went down this road into this crazy ass game. So and speaking this crazy ass language. So anyway, that's why we did that. And so we chose mini core sets. I would like to have done both. That's what I tried to do, is do a deluxe set and mini core set. And we may still do a deluxe set down the road. But for launch, we had to make a choice. We want to fulfill our obligations to Kickstarter, but we also want to set ourselves up for success of distribution and such. So anyway, you'll get 2. And that's kind of why I like the division between just having 2 different types of core sets, mini core sets. Physical and etheric covers the entire spectrum of what you would have gotten in a deluxe set, and we can just package them together and give it to you as a single deluxe set with whatever other upgrades we need. Is that it? Oh, there's a lot more. The sum total of the cards is going to be way more, man. It was going to be like 140, right? It was going to be in the deluxe set. That includes incantations, spec cards, and counter cards.
Yeah.
Now, the combined sets will have about 240. 220 to 240 minimum, right?
Yep.
If you take the 2, because each core set now has more. The mini core sets has more than half of what the old deluxe sets were going to have. So, more cards. It's good.
This one's more actually for Flair. Is there any status on artifacts for the FCN?
It's a little bit to me, but it's also to Chris and Yere, our designers, because No, we're artifacts are the next big thing we want to put in. Chris, I think we're actually pretty good on the card design for artifacts, aren't we?
Yeah, it's not too much of a departure. Let me see if I can pull it up. I don't know if Jere wants us to reveal this just yet, but he's in Finland, so he's asleep right now, and he can't stop us.
It's true.
Let me see here. Let me just go to files. Specializations. Bureaumancer spec. Here,
While
let me.
Chris is looking. Oh, you're gonna switch it over now?
Yeah. Go ahead, talk while I switch over.
The nice thing about artifacts is that they're simple. Like there's not that many complex elements to it. Like a spec, there's a ton of crap going on there that just isn't a single text field. But artifacts should be much more straightforward. So to answer the question, as soon as I get sign off from Jere and Chris that say this is what we want to put out to the FCN, at least as a first draft, I should be able to get those out. Chris will also be able to speak to how many artifacts we're looking for.
And on the outside, 24 artifacts. We have a lot of cross impact elements in this gameplay. Is that the term that you schooled me on?
Yeah, I like that
cross
term.
Impact. You have to be careful about cross impact because, and this game's got a lot of it, right? You have a spec card, and it changes all these other cards, and then you have also enhancements changing all these other cards, and that's what starts to create a resistance wall of resistance of card recognition from across the table, and you end up having to explain everything out to your opponent because they're not his cards. He doesn't know, and you have to explain it, and he's got to stop the game and reach across and take it, and there's going to be a lot of that because our cards are fairly complex, but we wanted to reduce it as much as possible. And so throwing in artifacts as an additional cross-impact card, if you understand what I mean by that. The Stormform is a cross-impact card, right? I'm casting Lightning, but because I have Stormform up this round, this Lightning spell is now doing 2 damage instead of 1 damage. It's fairly simple, but if you don't know that, I got to explain that to you. You know what I mean? The guy's looking at the card and does 1 damage, and he's like, what do you mean it does 2 damage? I'm like, well, because my enhancement here. And that's fine. That's playing a game. But we want to cut that down a little bit. Here's what we didn't want to do. We didn't want to expand that. And so we're not going to do that with artifacts very often. As we go on in time, we'll go crazy with the artifacts. But for right now, artifacts are going to be a little bit more functional and simpler. And on the outside, we're looking at about 24. We're going to inject our artifacts. And I have a list of artifacts from last year, but they're very, very cross impact. So, but there's a lot of ones that like spell storage. I really like spell rings. I always love that in D&D. We have a ring that you would put spells into, and you could cast them, and you could expand the amount of daily spell limits and stuff like that. I just thought, I don't know, I'd like that as a kid. And so we have a lot of things like that. That store spells or are converted at a time to one of your energies, or they manipulate energies. But not as much stuff that, or they're one-time shields or that type of thing. And reattunement. This is the Crescent Lantern lets you reattune, and some of them anyway. So they're all sort of like do something very specific, which turns out to be great because it distinguishes their gameplay function from other cards. I think now that I think about it, how it would have gone down originally was, I don't know if it would have really felt different for artifacts. Anyway, there's a little background on it, and that's what we're doing. Hey, check out these. Have you guys seen these new the new sphere icons? Looking great, right? Is that fantastic? Great work, Yetta. Okay, so as you can see here, very, very similar to what it was before. They just sort of been cleaned up a little bit, and they've implemented a little bit of the style elements from the incantation cards with the scroll work and whatnot. And same thing here on the sides, down here, Artifact of Transformation. Sort of a clear rule or broadcast bar right here. So anyway, that's kind of what we're looking at. This is what I like. We have to make sure that this can fit all of the functionality of the different artifact cards that we're creating, but I think it does. I don't know if we can fit everything we want. We may just need a little more rules section there. So anyway, so we're looking. Looks nice, looks good, and very distinctive. These will all look very distinctive from a regular incantation. What else you got?
These two are, I think, rather closely related. When are custom specializations and things going to be dealt with for Kickstarter rewards? Also, when are we going to do things like the Prodigy speaker stuff?
Could you read the first part of that question again?
When are custom specializations and things going to be dealt with for Kickstarter rewards? And the second one, which was I think related, things. When are we doing things like the Prodigy speaker stuff?
Very, very, very soon. We kind of had to do it last. We had to make the game first a little bit. Prodigy speakers and speaker protagonists. We have a very fleshed out details and stories of the speaker protagonists. So as we finish up our encounter cards, we got that down. Prodigy speakers is going to be easy because we have a specialization builder right now. So Prodigy speakers can just make the specialization that they want, and if not, we have plenty of other specializations that we like that we don't necessarily have room for them all, and so they can choose out of that. And they can choose. We have basically the idea is you designed your own specialization, and we have the tools in place for you guys to design your specializations more than we ever thought we would. I mean, choose the art you want, or give us a picture of you that you think is cool, and we'll see if we can photo manipulate that in. But that's we're okay on most of that, even up to the very last minute, like even into November. Although it would be nice we'll be testing a lot of our specializations out, so in blind play testing it, so it's even ones that we don't have slotted, and so we'll have a lot of tested specializations you can take and make your own. We can shift the flavor text and the background stories. The back of the specializations have a ton of room for story, so we have a lot of room to work with. Wow, we're going on 2 hours here. Let's take a look here where we got. 1 second. We got backs. Okay. Okay, here's a nice specialization front, right? You can see the two trees, nicely divided. It's cool. It looks good. And then, but the back is like this, like a page out of a book. And look at all this. This is a massive amount of room for flavor text and background story and player history, and then recommended codex list if it's a core card, or a whole nother page for this whole other side page could be done for even more story. So the Prodigy speakers, we have a lot of room to instantly implement them into the game mechanics of the game, but then based off of this is how they'll be implemented into the storylines. We have slots for them already in the Out of Eden campaign, so to flesh it out with personal details is pretty easy. We're doing Out of Eden campaign after we ship to China, so because we don't have to have that till the very end. In fact, we may have it printed domestically.
Yeah,
right?
We'll probably have it printed domestically.
We might have it printed in Boston, where our fulfillment center is, which gives us a lot of time to flush it out and really work on it. I mean, it will sync up. It'll be synced up into our distribution center. But oh, I'm still on screen share. So we have a little bit of time on that. That stuff's pretty easy. Anything else about those? Same thing though for inscribers. Well, we got inscribers worked in really well. They're going to be those inscribers are going to get a lot of bang for their buck. Those inscribers are going to be all over the cards. In the Kickstarter backer rewards, we didn't even talk about them being on cards, right, Brian?
No.
It was just going to be in the codex. No, they're going to be all over cards. These guys are going to be fairly famous. And the Words of Power will get that sorted out. It's on my to-doist list, and that's sorted out at the end of the month, too. So.
You wound up kind of leading into the next two.
Oh, one thing real quick. The interim site for the Magi's Nexus, it won't even be the Magi's Nexus. It'll become Magi's site, but we're going to be switching it over. We'll have more developed profiles for you, and that's where we want to actually list out everything that you're getting and what you paid and what you bought and what we have for your shipping address, and you'll have access to that. You can edit it. You know what I mean? You can edit your shipping page, and before this ships and goes from Boston out, we will it'll be like you'll get plenty of notifications to be like whatever's on that page is what you're getting. So change your address, or if there's another issue, contact us about it, and so there'll be a place that you will have access to. so you can double check to see what we have on you, rather than sending us emails and like, can you change this? And then you don't know if we got around to it. So you'll be able to see exactly what it is, and you'll actually be able to edit it yourself. But there was a point to that.
Probably related to the PayPal backers.
You need to change email, change address, or something like
Yeah,
that.
we'll have that system up, but you can also email Brian at magisupport@gmail. At Unbound Games.
Brian
Unbound.
G at Unbound Games.
That's where you want Brian
Or
G.
Magi support at
Okay.
Unbound Games.
At unbound-games.com. Okay. Sorry to interrupt you. There you go, Michael.
No, that's okay. The next two, the solo play RPG, what will it comprise of? We'll be able to add modules easily. And you kind of hinted at this one. Can we get a status update on the RPG/campaign sites as well?
Brian, can you give me some water?
Yeah.
I was sick today and yesterday, so I'm starting to fade just a little bit. RPG campaign. You know, we made a choice sometime this past summer about when it was after PT 1.0, and we're like, okay, some of that stuff that we planned didn't quite play out, and we got to go back to the older version. But we took it back even further from that, and we had to make a choice of exactly what is this game? What are we making here? You know, I mean, we were willing to step back quite a bit as long as we still had a skill-based, competitive, cooperative, multiplayer style card game where you speak a language and you cast spells and stuff like that. But we ended up going, I mean, is this really a TCG? Is that really it is? Should we stop pretending it's not a TCG and it's something else? Is it an LCG? Is it something completely different? And it's an RPG TCG. That's what we're making. So that's what we decided, and that's kind of where we can help focus our efforts. So the Out of Eden campaign is a huge aspect of that because it's the first of many campaigns. And the Out of Eden campaign is a 3-part series. You guys will all be receiving the first part, and it carries on. Each one has its own climax and whatnot, but it's a very long and epic story. I eventually would like. Thank you so much. I would really like to incorporate a system online where backers can start creating user-created campaigns. We kind of give them a framework within to do that. If you wouldn't mind just jotting that down on your to-do list, Jeremy.
On it.
Yeah. Why should I make the Out of Eden campaign? We'll collaborate. We'll have it made. I'm just joking. The Apocryphal Lore has a wonderful system. That's really it's just a totally awesome system of how that Out of Eden campaign plays out, and depending on whether you fail or what you choose, whether you basically go forward in time or backwards in time. I know it sounds a little funky, but it's elegant and it's totally unique, and I haven't seen anything like it, and it's awesome. 4 potentially different outcomes, basically, and anyway, it's just great. The tutorial is going to be extended, and that's basically the solo campaign. It'll start as a campaign, and it'll introduce more advanced concepts. We foresee that as a 3-chapter section, also taking place throughout time. As of right now, it starts in Babel, and then second session we start dealing with more advanced rules is in sort of Nordic, sort of Viking longboat time period, sort of some Odin, not Odin, but like that's that sort of that time frame, that culture, and then a modern one that injects you into the world. So that first section is done. Just so we had to really revise it for what rules we wanted to teach and what cards we're going to use. So that's coming along really well, and you'll see for yourself next week. So you have some encounter cards and the first part of the tutorial, and you tell us what you think about it and how it's playing for you. I think we've got a lot of evolution and exploration into the physical mechanics of how you create a branching storyline that's more sophisticated than a CYOA. You know what I mean? It's not just a choose your own adventure. You have no idea how many choose your own adventures style books I've read. Not choose your own adventures; those are so crude. But like different game books and whatnot, I've been reading over the past 2 years, and then they usually suck. They're just not very good. But we have interesting concept that sort of abstractly tracks your choices and causes influence and actual distinct influences in different encounters, that type of thing. I don't know if I got off topic on that one, but there's a little bit about RPGs and the solo campaign and whatnot.
All right. We are
Do you
down
have something else to say, Jeremy? You have something to say on that, or?
Well, do you want to talk a little bit about the difference between the true RPG systems and the campaign systems we're launching with?
Oh yeah. Okay. So no, we have the RPG source back. We've talked about that a lot, right? And we had a backer who's in the biz and was going to help us out, but then we had to really pull back and just focus on gameplay a lot. So I really hope we can bring him back in. Lord Blackwood, right? Wasn't it Lord Blackwood? Did I get that right? That doesn't sound quite right.
Something.
Yeah, something very cool sounding. The anyway, we will be creating immediately an RPG source book, and where you can use the cards, but it will implement in with a little bit more of a traditional RPG. And there's a couple of choices to be made on specializations, because I'd like specializations to be able to be shifted over into that, and that means giving them a few more stats on the backside. However, I don't think at launch we'll be doing that. I really wanted that just total synergy, so I can play Serpent's Tongue, Round of Serpent's Tongue, or the Out of Eden campaign in this RPG TCG. Take that same specialization, maybe make some tweaks to it using a point system, and use it in as a class, as my class, in a full sourcebook RPG style. You know what I mean? Pen and paper RPG, where you still use your cards though and whatnot, so it transfers over. It's kind of not a lot of people have done that type of thing before, but we've looked at the systems and we can totally do it, and we're going to do that this winter basically. But that will probably begin before anything's back from China, actually. Unless we're too busy with ST Online, that is. Yes.
Alt-tab.
Yeah. So what's next? Apparently, they've made tremendous improvements in voice recognition apps. So.
All right. Well, on the plus side, we only have 4 more questions for you.
Okay.
All right. I'll go with the first one. The PayPal backer questionnaire, has that gone out yet? And if not, is there a timeline for when it should go out?
And now, finally, Brian being here for 2 hours. Go ahead.
All right. Regarding the PayPal questionnaire, Chris went into this just a little bit. We're not really going to be doing the PayPal questionnaire per se. What we're going to do is we're just going to have basically a profile page set up where we'll have all the information that we've got. So we'll have your order on there, your shipping address, all that information. You'll basically just confirm that. And then come like January 12th or so, it'll sort of be set in stone for this order. Now, there will be some information we've also talked about already that we do need to get from like the prodigies and from the inscribers. But we'll be getting that in the next little bit.
Profile page too, frankly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We'll probably just
We'll have a section. You can type in more information. Prodigy speakers and Prodigy speaker antagonists and Prodigy masters. There's a few enough inscribers and words of power. In fonts, okay, maybe there is quite a few people, but it's a few enough that we can talk to them individually. And then everybody else is a backer. They're all getting into the story eventually. We'll have a place in your profile where you can write about who you want to be and who you are and what time frame you like, and if we can, we'll take that into consideration. We'll work that into the profile.
Yeah. So basically, there's not going to be a survey exactly like sent out to you with all the questions on there. Instead, it'll be more of just a link where you'll go and log in and take care of your profile, basically. Now, if just another sort of shout out to the people that pledged within the first 48 hours after the Kickstarter ended via PayPal. So those last-minute PayPal. If you haven't received a survey from me, email Magi support at Unbound-Games.
Wait, 48 hours, or are we talking about the extended out 96, 120?
No, it's just those for their initial pledge, right? Like, because we had those people that pledged via PayPal 48 hours after the Kickstarter ended.
That's what I'm saying. I thought we extended that out all the way to the following. Those people.
Those people?
Yeah, and they're like full on.
Yeah.
Order recipient. Yeah. We extended it out a little bit.
Well, you guys extended the initial buy-in period, and then you also extended the time frame you could change your order. Like you could adjust your pledge.
Oh yeah, we did. We extended where they can do upgrades and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But as far as you talking about those founders, not legacy founders.
Yeah, they're actual considered regular founders.
Yeah, no, I extended that. Sorry, no, I extended that to the following Friday.
The following Friday. All right, so so some of you will probably be receiving another survey from me because I only send it out to those within the first 48 hours.
Sorry.
So we'll take care of that. But for most of the PayPalers, don't worry about it. Like I said, you'll get a link with to your profile page, and it'll have all your information on there. And if there is any problems, then you'll just talk to me directly, and we'll get it all straightened out. That's it.
And we'll have that soon. We'll have it very soon, actually.
Yeah, I mean, we've got all that information already, pretty much. So
we have another database guy who's putting together the backers database and that type of thing. So, he could be done with it already. Except for integrations.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. The codebreaker pages that you were talking about earlier, where you get a new page for your codex, and it acts as a codebreaker to unlock special information. With those codebreaker pages, will it matter if the codebreaker leaks, or is the page needed for more than just that information? I think what they're thinking of is someone gets a copy of the page, scans it, posts it online, and now everybody can download it, print it out, cut it out, and do whatever they want.
That may happen. That may happen.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Yeah. Yeah. But as that happens, the codebreaker will cease to function probably as well. You know what I mean? At certain thresholds, and sometimes it may not. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it may rely upon that distribution, and it'll be done. It'll be basically controlled using natural forces, basically. You know what I mean? And natural motivations and whatnot. So it'll depend on the actual page, right? It's a good way of putting that.
Trust nothing. That's that. Hey, I stand by that. Trust nothing.
All right. Next to the last one, the changes that have been made to each sphere, are they still cohesive and balanced with each other at this point, or is there a whole lot more tweaking that still needs to be done?
Say that one more time.
With the changes that have been made to each sphere, since the keepers have come in, all the new cards have come in, are the individual spheres still cohesive and balanced with each other right now, or is there more tweaking that's going to have to be done with that?
I hope not. I hope not. We're doing this final check, and this card was a little too much. What's its current power level? I'm role playing. What's that current power level? Oh, it is high. Okay, we need to change it just a little bit because of this, this, and this. You know what I mean? That's all I'm looking for. You know what I mean? It's like, this last minute, just like literally last minute stuff. That's what I'm hoping for. We're going to playtest it. We're going to be playtesting it ourselves the entire time. We're also doing these blind playtests. Be playtesting up to the very last minute, not basically the end of October. And I hope it's a matter of just very superficial changes. Maybe have to inject a new card, but basically that we can be making those changes online, not a okay, we've got to strip this down and change this all around and start a new process. However, if we come to the end of October and we need to do that, we will do that. And we'll start it again, and we'll go through the cycle again. Of course, we're able to fail very, very, very fast with the technology that we have right now, and with the card nexus and with the keepers, and at that point we'll already have, the people won't be as blind playtesters anymore, but we'll have a lot of local, real playtesters, and they'll be all up to, we'll have a very active playtesting team, so, and multi-groups, so we can fail very fast. But I'm hoping not. I don't expect that to be the case. I don't expect that. I hope that and expect that by November 1st we are like, okay, this is working out. You know what I mean? We'll be playtesting and testing stuff up to the very, very last minute. Who knows? I may be swapping out something on force field, calling China, like, okay, I got this new file for you. You know what I mean? That's entirely possible. But that's what I project is just superficial changes. The spheres are they're more balanced now between the 3CS system, the card cost calculation system, and the keepers, more eyes on it, and between now this playtesting session, the cards and the spheres are going to be more balanced and more synergistic than they ever have been again, and they're cohesive, and they've got a balance of requirements, like you're going to have to invest in the sphere if you want to go deep into it and be able to do the big spells, and there's some that you don't have to, particularly in the cards formerly known as Obscura. They're good. They're tight. And we'll keep you updated on what our playtesting sets are. I know it's a pain in the ass. to play test. I would just say, well, play test it yourself. But I realize it's a pain in the ass, right? It's doing this on your own, trying to print these things out. I have a hard time printing. I have to have Brian print out all my cards for me. You know what I mean? So, and the codex I know is a little bit tricky. I'm sorry. I wish that was a little bit of a more streamlined process. Once we have all the final cards, though, and it's kind of shipped, we will be revamping and retooling that print and play aspect of the site and the game and that type of thing, so that even while you're waiting for it to come back to China, you know that these are the cards and this is the game, and I think you'll probably feel a little bit more inspired to actually pay to print them out, possibly in full color, and get your nice codex set up, that type of thing. So anyway, we'll keep you informed. If you're not playtesting, we'll keep you informed of how that's coming along. I'll give you an update. Let's do that for the SOG Spotlight for the weekly updates. We'll do. We'll talk about. I'll give you playtesting reports. That's where we're at. We need to confirm all this stuff in this final stretch, home stretch. So we'll do a spotlight on whole spheres and specific cards and that type of thing. If you guys don't mind the extra information, it may not be as pretty. We'll download a lot of what's happening on the cards, what's working, what's not, that type of thing. So.
Just to throw a shout out to the phrasing of the question, the cohesiveness. I mentioned it before, but we have a chat room for the keepers, and we're in it constantly. So there is a lot of synergy and cohesion between and in the spheres. Really well developed. Like almost every card we're making, we're sending out to each other and saying, "What do you think about this? How well does this balance? Is this working correctly for us? If I do a card that makes demanifests more expensive, does that ruin Soul?" And so Hino Ryusen, he and I are working together on that concept, and we're all working together. I think. Are you scrolling through it right now, Chris?
Yeah, that was keep a chat.
Yeah.
For the afternoon.
Yep.
I don't know if they've done the 30,000 lines that ST Roleplay Chat has done, but or 40,000 lines of chat, but it's pretty intense and back and forth in there.
All right, last question, and I think this is fair game for everybody. What are some of the highest and lowest moments you've had in this whole process in relation to the game?
I don't think I've had any low moments.
I just need a break for the rest of my voice before I launch into that. No low moments, Jeremy?
Not really. There's been. I suppose I lie. Getting the FCN integrated with WordPress was probably the most frustrating experience of my coding life.
Yeah, our theme apparently is not very standard. Thanks a lot, Gunnar. I like the theme, though. I think I may have picked it out. Not very standard, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Brian, do you have any low moments?
I don't know if I've had any real low moments. I've had some frustrating moments when Aaron just wanted to scrap everything and go in a totally different direction.
Oh, that's
maybe
true.
The scrolls was maybe a low
Yeah,
moment.
at some point, Aaron almost had us throw out cards. You weren't going to get cards. You were going to get little scrolls that you kept in a scroll bag that you pulled out and you unraveled. I'm serious. That was on the table from our older brother. He's a brilliant whack job because he does not hold any idea sacred whatsoever. He's like, yeah, I don't care. We came up with it, and he'll throw it all out. And it's actually led to a lot of some nice. It's led to some really great evolutions, and improvements. But we had to kind of sort through some craziness to do.
Yeah, the night before Playtest 1.0 was launching, there were some low moments there.
PT 1.0 was really stressful. We'd had that. Yeah, I'm still here. We had all this coming up, and I started to see all of these issues and problems in the cards. And our graphic designer had to go out of town that weekend for his main job, and so I was left there trying to manually open up hundreds of PSD files and try to change stuff around. I'm a very crude Photoshopper, and then we lost everything. Yeah. We lost everything. We had it all on a Google Drive, and someone took it and was like, "What's?" Because we were uploading these massive PSD files, and so someone was like, "What is clogging up my drive here?" And they took it and just moved it out. Anyway, that was a little intense. And Aaron was walking around. He's walking around like a drill sergeant, like, it's got to be perfect. It's got to be perfect. And then he'd be like 10 seconds. He'd be like, just get it done. Just get it done. Anyway, we're like, which one? You know, we're all freaking out. We're losing all our stuff. That was rough. Actually, since then, it's been pretty much smooth sailing. You know, it's been an enjoyable process. Longer. Everything takes longer. And, I did have a few weeks where I went round and around about how to get you to be able to conjure a lake on somebody. You know what I mean?
Oh, the
and
acid
then you
lake?
acidify it.
Oh,
You're
God.
submerged and burning in acid, and then what that implies for a creation-causing state, ongoing damage. Just around and around and around I went. I really wanted to be able to create that.
That was a horrifying week.
Yeah. It was a little rough. I felt like I felt a little crazy, rattling around inside my head. And just as soon as we figured it out, like, oh wait, no, that doesn't work, and we progress around. Just these little nuances of advanced rules that was a little bit tricky. And that's it. That was sort of a little week of a little bit of madness and the PT 1.0 launch. The rest of it's been really good and full of so many highs. When you figure something out, or when something's coming together, or you realize something's very cool, or something you're going to be proud of, or something that's going to be fun, or community building, there's been all sorts of little victories all along the way with the technology that's being created by the guys, by the involvement from the different teams and the inner sanctum, to prototypes coming together a little bit, like getting to the right content, figuring out distribution deals. Everything always started out scarier and then got easier and better, and it's like we sort of like won, you know what I mean, in whatever aspect it was. Like, we kind of wanted a system where we could show all the cards and work with them in a database, and people could comment on them, and I mean, just this grandiose dream and show full art. And like, we never even thought we'd ever get there, but we won. We got that, you know what I mean? We have it right now, and we did the same thing with the codexes, and we did the same thing with distribution agreements, you know what I mean, and the Avak-Shar codes that we're able to. There's a system out there where people can literally online redeem these codes, pick out a card, and some dude in a warehouse on the East Coast will walk down to that warehouse and be able to find that card, pick it, take it into envelope, and send it to the guy. You know what I mean? These are all things that could have been much more complex, or could have really run into some walls. So I think we really lucked out on a lot. Lucked out, blessed, however you want to talk about it. So it's a really, despite that's been long and there's a little more work than I liked. It's a blast, and it's fun working with these guys. It's been just great, so enjoyable, and and full of a whole bunch of little victories. So a little exhausting, and for a little while it was a little. So many details. Sorry. It was draining me for a little while there because I was just working too much. It was just nonstop. Wake up and do it until 2 o'clock in the morning and 3 o'clock in the morning, and wake back up and do it again. And it was just 14, 16-hour burns every day. And I think it started to drain me a little bit. And Sadie started to get a little antsy, but I course corrected that. At some point, you can do more work by only working 10 hours a day instead of 16. Apparently, as it turns out. So put a little bit on more schedule, and nice and balanced living, so to speak. Sorry for all those details, but yeah, it's all been really good, I'd say, except for those two. Anything else? There's got to be some other irritant, right? Brian, something else that was low. People don't want to hear about the highs; they want to hear about these crazy lows, right?
I'll throw in the only low that I personally had and dealt with was the information overload that was happening in the forums. Couldn't keep up.
Oh, so right.
That's where I wound up getting started.
Yeah, that's true. And that's leading to your signature updates, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's a nice solution there.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't been doing those updates for a little bit because the forums have been a little less active. We came up with some ideas, and we'll talk about them tomorrow and see if we can't help improve that.
Yeah. And I think I love forum activity, although I think us and everybody involved just like, all right, just make it, finish, let's do it. You know what I mean? Instead of we love talking about it. You know what I mean? Everyone loves talking about it, but it's like, all right, just make it, and we'll talk about it once we have it in our hands a little bit. But I like forum activity as much as possible too. So we do have some. Michael came up with some ideas for that, like the contest for possibly the handcrafted leather codex or something like that. Darren?
I just want to point out for people as well, if they look in the event comments, go down a little bit, you'll see something from Justin. Justin, I'm probably going to mangle your name, and I apologize. Justin Warzanek. He posted a link for the scroll version of the Codex. You'll have fun looking at that link.
Which one in the event?
In the event, the one it's in, he called it the scroll version of the Codex, and it's a picture link he posted at that JPEG.
Oh no! Oh no! Don't do it! Don't do it!
I'm opening up the events. I lost that page for something. Where's this link? Oh, Justin? What is it? What's on there?
Houston. Oh,
yeah.
Roleplay chat. It's a trap.
Aaron would love this. Yeah. Servant's Tongue 4.0. There you go.
Oh no, wait. No.
You know, it's funny. It's we actually vetted that idea around a little. I mean, I didn't vet it. It's ridiculous. Brian actually vetted it around, and like people actually, I think you were just making fun of the idea, and some of your Magic the Gathering friends were like, "That sounds awesome."
Yeah, like
that's
basically
great.
3 out of 3 people were like, "That's great."
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. All right, it's crazy. What are you going to have a little pouch? And they immediately latched onto that idea. You'll probably see it on Kickstarter.
Okay, my problem there is supposed to know which one you're grabbing. What, color code the whole thing?
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
I mean,
It's functionally
seriously.
7 ways from Sunday
I'm
on that.
I'm carrying a bag of crayons.
That's true. Yeah. I think you wanted to have a Serpent's Tongue code or the glyph on the outside of it, so you had to memorize your glyphs or something. And that's what he thought. He thought it was like you have to like know what to grab. He also wanted to bring some randomization into the game. We had a little frustration over, didn't we? What did we announce that everyone just went crazy about? It was just like, no. Was it Resonance Overload? Still a hot button item? Was that one?
Yeah.
I didn't mind that. I like anyone being that passionate about it. You know what I mean? That passionate. That's great. That means they're into it. You know what I mean? Even the guys that were like, this is not the game we started out for. I love it. It's fantastic. It's great. You know what I mean? A little crazy in my personal opinion, but the fact that they care that much and they're that intense about it and like love the Kickstarter Serpent's Tongue game that much, you know what I mean? That it really matters to them that they lost. It's the fact that it matters to them, you know, that passionately. So I didn't even some of the Flame Forum posts, I eat it up.
The Discord roles, the Resonance roles, and the initial card design all were really hot button topics. Yeah.
Yeah, Hino Ryusen, Discord roles. People hated it. Some people still do. Yeah, we haven't won everybody over yet. We'll get an idea from it from blind playtesting. I don't think anyone... The thing is, when people learn to play a game, it's like, oh, that's the game. And then when you change it on them, it is when it causes some issues. So I don't even know if blind playtest is the best test of that Resonance Overload roles. Resonance Overload. So I still like it functionally, but it has been explained to me meticulously why I am wrong. So I'm flexible. I'm open to it. We just like the idea of Resonance Overload. If there's anybody still listening, here's my opinion on Resonance Overloads. We wanted a system into the game that creates a variable game environment. And so you don't know exactly whether you'll have 9 essence or 12 essence over the course of the game. There's stuff going on. You know what I mean? You can't just plan it out to a key, that this is going to happen and this is going to happen. And so you know that if you do this order of cards, it's over with or you're okay. You know what I mean? It throws in some randomness, but randomness in like sort of the external environment, basically. You know what I mean? And so your battles have to adapt to that external environment, and everybody in that battle has to adapt equally, basically. You have to adapt to the same, stimulus, the same change. However, no one wants to die from Resonance Overload. So we also have that new rule about you can't die from it. Resonance Overload, you can't take your last hit point. It's a little rule. It's another rule. We're trying to cut down rules, so maybe even that won't stay. But that kind of fixes, I think, the biggest issue with it. It has been raised a good point, though. Ecthelion is like, yeah, but I'm forces. Like, I don't respond to random essence loss as well as Bio does. You know what I mean? However, everyone's got to try to incorporate at least some sort of healing in some ways. You know what I mean? But that means that resonance overload doesn't affect some spheres as much as it does other spheres, and so now it's not as uniform of a, uniform volatility. So there's a really good argument on the other side. In fact, I think I just made the best case against it than for it. But it never bothered me playing it. I kind of liked it, and I liked here's the other thing is, 4 resonance is too much based off current game balance. So if you roll a 4 before, nothing happened. Nothing happened at all. You just got you didn't get anything, which is kind of lame. You're kind of waiting. It's lame. Like, oh, am I going to get resonance? I need resonance this turn. You know what I mean? Everyone likes earning stuff. And now I didn't earn anything. Now, by balancing with essence and harmony, go ahead, take the 4 because you're paying for it. You know what I mean? And so it seems to balance it. Oh, I think Ectalion presented that we just remove essence, we keep it at just a harmony loss, and I'm pretty good with that, and it's on theme.
Yeah, and it really works because with our current 3CS mechanism, 2 resonance equals 1 harmony. So really, you're only gaining 2 when you do that evaluation.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's true. It's a little more balanced. It's a little less subdued. It's not as big of a deal, but it also makes sense because losing essence means that you've actually physically experienced sort of a miniature Discord event or something. All the other ideas that you have so much resonance coming through, the limitations and the frailty of the human form can't handle it. So sort of like blowing some wattage, which I guess makes sense. But now it's more, if it's just harmony, it's basically you guys are cracking the universe open too much. You know what I mean? There's just too much power and reality shifting going on, and it's putting the external environment into a discordant state. You know what I mean? It's cracking the harmony of the world, which also I think works pretty good. Michael Peterson, by the way, hates the resonance overload, but maybe he likes this new concept of it just being harmony. It's going to affect some people going for harmony victories, and it's also going to affect people who are always riding the bottom level of Discord. You know what I mean? It's going to affect those people, the people on the outer extremes, but I think it'll be less game-changing, but still shifting the environment a little bit.
Yeah, but it doesn't put it into me versus the dice.
Yeah, that's what he doesn't like about it.
I'm playing to play against people. I'm not playing to play against the dice. If I wanted to play against the dice, I'd get zombie dice and be done.
Ooh,
So
zombie dice and serpent's tongue.
No, that I could work
call
with.
it. Yeah, call it quick. Call the meeting before it goes. I think that's probably about it. We were going to do a little, have some people come in, but I'm a little fried. You can tell my sickness is kind of coming back up a little bit. So let's kill it. I really like these meetings, though. I hope you guys enjoy them too. And we'll do another one here probably in a couple of weeks to finalize 2 to 3 weeks. Let's do one at the end of October, and we can talk about how the playtesting went, the final manufacturing decisions, and we'll be able to talk about some of these little missing components that we didn't talk about tonight. So, and we'll have a more complete set. Thanks, guys, for sticking around for so long. I wasn't planning on it being 2.5 hours, but there's a lot of content there. So, thanks a lot.
That happens.
I appreciate anybody have anything else they want to say?
I'm just going to point out that I'm going to get the summary up as quick as I can, but it's a 2.5-hour video. Putting a summary up is going to take some time.
Tricky. How are you going to edit this? It's all gold. I'm just joking.
Oh, no. The first 15 minutes kind of sucked.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. Hey, no one can get their cameras working correctly.
Yeah. We can cut
Well, there's that.
So for you guys that actually showed up, thank you for your ongoing participation. We love it. It's great. The diehard niche. You know what I mean? You guys are the core that we're building this game out of. So I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot if any of you guys are uploading that art too. Really useful. It's great. Okay. Farewell. Good night, everybody. We'll
Good
see
night,
you.
everybody.
I'll let Michael Peterson close it out.